Good evening, everyone. Because this is an organizational meeting of the board, I will preside temporarily until the board chair is elected. Do I have a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Dr. Guidry and second by Jamie Bond. Any discussion? Ms. Osmond, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin? Yes. Dr. Guidry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Yes. Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Do I have a motion to certify closed session that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered?
So moved.
And do I have a second? Second. Motion is made by Derek Roundtree, second by Matt Roberts. Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Guidry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Yes. Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Motion is made by Laura Purcell, second by Jamie Bond. Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
No.
Dr. Guidry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton? Yes. Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion passes. Next, we have the Christiansburg Middle School Choir with us tonight to sing the national anthem with the choir director, Laura Travaminia.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glad bombs bursting, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Technology. We need technology.
It won't work. Well, it'll.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Our student representatives tonight are Cyrus Underwood from Eastern Montgomery High School and Avi Gandhi from Christiansburg High School. Will you please read our mission and belief statements?
Okay, so our mission statement is MCPS is an innovative educational community. We value diversity and we are committed to equity and inclusion. MCPS empowers learners to realize success in an ever-changing global society through collaboration with its communities, families, staff, and students. MCPS provides a safe, engaging learning space and intentional exposure to positive social, emotional, and academic experiences.
Beliefs. 1. All students can learn in order to pursue their dreams. 2. Schools are safe places of joy, wonder, and creativity. 3. Every person deserves to be loved, valued, and respected. 4. Kindness is an essential skill of a responsible, productive community member. 5. The diversity of our community is one of our greatest strengths. 6. All people deserve equitable access to opportunities and resources. 7. Every child deserves an advocate. 8. Honoring the voices of our students and other stakeholders strengthens the school community. 9. Open communication and feedback are vital to our growth. 10. Learning and teaching are collective efforts that begin at birth and involve the entire community. 11. Relationship building and high expectations are foundational to student success.
Thank you. Our next item of business is the student representative reports. Cyrus, do you have a report from Eastern Montgomery High?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys have enjoyed the break as much as we have. Prior to our break, we've had lots of events and activities at EMHS, concluding our fall semester. Students wrapped up the fall semester with a successful week of SOL testing. 91% of all classes were completed successfully for first semester, and students are now preparing for a successful spring semester and looking forward to our new classes and opportunities. Our JV and varsity basketball teams kicked off their seasons on December 1st versus Auburn. The boys are looking to earn their fourth win in a row this week on Thursday versus Bath County, and our Lady Mustangs are competing for their fifth win tonight at Craig. Our indoor track athletes have been utilizing our new track to train and prepare for their meets. In just our second year of having an indoor track team, it has proven to be extremely popular with 56 students participating. So far this season, they have competed in 3 meets, and a couple highlights from the boys is a first place finish in the 4x800 at the East Coast Elite Ugly Sweater Invitational. Marshall Tate placed first in the high jump at 6 foot 2 inches at the same meet. Calvin Wilbon got a first place finish in the 1600 at the East Coast Elite Around the World Invitational. Our newly founded debate team competes this Thursday at Lord Botetourt. Our Scholastic Bowl team hosted a match on December 15th where they placed second. Mr. Eaton hosted a bowling field trip for students in math, science, and materials to close out the fall semester. During this field trip, students were able to see how the mechanics of a pin setter works and provide an enjoyable experience for bowlers. Miss Castle's floriculture attended their last field trip to Glade Road, where they learned how a small vegetable and meat operation is run. This has been a series of 5 field trips throughout the semester, allowing students to gain real-world experience seeing how a local farm operates at several stages throughout multiple seasons. If you've never been to Glade Road Growing is definitely a farm worth checking out. They have really good produce and really good meats. Our band program held their winter band concert on December 11th, and it was a delight to see the community and the bands from all levels, from Shellsville Middle and Eastern Montgomery High, to play together. Before our winter break, to promote school spirit and a sense of belonging at EMHS, all students were given a Mustang t-shirt that will allow them to show school pride at school and in the community. Our Interact Club was able to collect 614 items that were donated to the Christmas store to help local families in need. And lastly, our annual EMHS Angel Tree Drive was again able to support families in need throughout the holiday season. School and community members adopted angels, sponsored gift cards, donated cash, and wrapped gifts till their thumbs were sore. And all 26 families and 52 angels were supported through this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyrus. Avi, do you have a report from Christiansburg High?
Yes, I do. Okay, so since our last school board meeting, CHS has had several exciting events take place to conclude the first semester, and we're looking forward to what 2026 will bring. The Virginia Department of Education released its School Quality Report designation for the 25 to 26 school year, and CHS is currently accredited and labeled as on track in the new school support and performance framework. CHS was merely 0.9 from earning a rating from distinguished. CHS has increased its workplace readiness pass rate by 10% for the fall 2025 school semester as compared to fall 2024. CHS is placing a strong emphasis on continuing to drive down its chronic absenteeism rate, which is currently 2% points lower than it was last year. CHS has utilized the all-in tutoring program greatly during the fall semester, having a total of nearly 50 individuals sign up and attend to receive additional support in their English and math classes. The CHS band received a superior rating at their final competition of the year, and CHS's Beta Club was able to collect over 75 Thanksgiving baskets from student organizations to support families and communities for both Thanksgiving and the most recent holiday break. The CHS Music Department hosted its 26th annual Breakfast with Santa in our new cafeteria and common space. It was huge for the local community and was also an excellent opportunity for students to volunteer in and get hours. To conclude, our fall and winter athletic teams have had some notable performances. CHS currently ranks number two in Class 3 in the VHSL National Guard Cup with outstanding finishes by various teams this fall season. Our girls volleyball team finished up as state runner-ups. The girls cross-country team finished as state runner-ups, and the boys cross-country team finished fourth overall. And the boys golf team finished fifth. The CHS girls basketball team is off to a strong start as well and played a close game with the number 1 team, Western Albemarle. The CHS boys basketball team also had a great start to the season with a 6-2 record. The CHS wrestling team continues to grow in numbers through the new coaching staff and looks to have a strong season. The boys and girls indoor track field teams and swim and dive teams have had some outstanding performances to the start of the season. The most exciting news is that as we enter 2026, CHS is in the final leg of its construction journey with projected completion in August 2026. As of tomorrow, CHS will open its new Science and History Wing, Student Support and Access Department to centralize all resources for our Special Education Department and students. The cybersecurity classrooms will also open up, and new classrooms for band, choir, and the piano lab. We will also have access to new restrooms outside the auditorium and main gym spaces, along with an updated entry to the main gym from the outside entrance. And we will be closing down our Forum 200 wing and several other classrooms to continue the construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Avi. Our next order of business is the election of the board chair. Anyone on the board may nominate another board member. A nomination does not require a second. Once nominations are complete, we will vote on each nominee in the order of their nomination. Do I have a nomination for the chair of the Montgomery County School Board?
Yep. I'd like to nominate Ms. Laura Purcell for this position of school board chair. Having served this past year as vice chair, Ms. Purcell brings both the experience and the understanding necessary to lead the board through our 2026 priorities, including onboarding a new superintendent and initiating the development of a strategic plan for our district. Over the past 3 years, Ms. Purcell has made a deliberate effort to prioritize her growth and effectiveness as a school board member. Beginning during her election year, she researched the responsibilities of the position and met with past and present board members to better understand the role. Importantly, she has also demonstrated the self-awareness to recognize that learning from others must extend beyond our local network. To that end, Ms. Purcell attended the Virginia School Boards Association VSBA Annual Conference in 2023 following the general election prior to having been sworn in, and continued her participation in 2024 and 2025, along with additional professional development opportunities of more than 20 hours of PD that culminated in her earning a VSBA training award. Ms. Purcell's attendance and engagement have been exceptional. She has consistently prioritized her presence at board meetings, work sessions, events, and discipline hearings, demonstrating a strong commitment to the responsibilities entrusted to her. While Ms. Purcell and I do not always agree on every issue, I wholeheartedly believe she possesses the knowledge, determination, and dedication necessary to lead this board. I am confident in her ability to guide Montgomery County Public Schools through a period of transition and opportunity, leading this team of 7, supporting the onboarding of a new superintendent, and initiating the development of a meaningful and forward-looking strategic plan for our district. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Dr. Ed Guitry.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing no one, nominations are closed. We will now vote on the nominees. Our first nominee was Laura Purcell. Is there any discussion regarding this nomination? Anyone on my left? Anyone on the right? No. So if there's no discussion, we'll go ahead and vote on this nominee. Ms. Osmond, will you call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
No.
Dr. Guitry?
No.
Ms. Parton?
No.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
4 in favor, 3 opposed.
This motion passes. Ms. Purcell, congratulations, and I will cede the seat to you.
While we have a minute, I'd just like to say I'm sorry for the scuffle with my microphone. It broke, so I'm going to share. But thank you all for being patient.
To continue with the reorganization of the school board, we will elect a vice chair. As with the election of the board chair, anyone on the board may nominate another board member. A nomination does not require a second. Once nominations are complete, we will vote on each nominee in the order of their nomination. Do I have a nomination for the vice chair of the Montgomery County School Board?
I move to nominate Dr. Roundtree.
We have a nomination for Dr. Roundtree as vice chair. Are there any other nominations? Seeing no one, nominations are closed. We will now vote on the nominees. Our first nominee was Dr. Derek Roundtree. Is there any discussion regarding this nomination?
I just, excuse me, I'd just like to make comment that I would love to see the whole county be represented, but as I've shared many times, it's a hard job. Chair's a hard job. Vice chair's a hard job. And it requires a lot of time and a lot of effort, and not all of us have that time to devote. So, however, I would love to see someone on this end of the county be in leadership. It's just not a opportunity for any of us to do that at this time. So I'm of the mindset that I appreciate anyone who's willing to do the extra work. And as one of my colleagues have stated before, we don't always agree, but we're here to serve the students. And we can't move forward without leadership. So for me, I'm going to be voting for Dr. Roundtree because even though we don't see eye to eye a whole lot, he's willing to do the work that I'm not, because it's hard and I don't have the time. And I appreciate the time that Dr. Guichu was willing to do. And we've had that conversation before. We had the vote for chair, and I shared with him my stance on that. I appreciate Ms. Purcell being willing to do it, and Dr. Roundtree. So thank you all for stepping up, and I will be voting yes for Dr. Roundtree to do this.
Are there any other comments or discussion?
I'll just add a little bit here. Thank you for offering to serve as vice chair. We had talked before, and one of my concerns, and still a concern, is that we have a contentious relationship now with the Board of Supervisors, and one of the things that I'm really hoping, and as you know, I had asked for an apology to the Board of Supervisors because of that voicemail. So I hope that that still comes so that we can mend relationships, because you're representing the board in that position. But I thank you for stepping up and taking on the responsibility.
Anyone else? Ms. Osborne, can we please have the roll call vote?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin? No. Dr. Guittry?
No.
Ms. Parton?
No.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
In favor, 3 opposed.
Dr. Roundtree, welcome to the vice chair role at Montgomery County Public School Board. So now we'll move on to the appointment of the clerk. Do I have a motion to appoint Tosh Osborne as the clerk of the board?
Second.
Ms. Franklin and Ms. Parton? Any discussion? Maybe just all to say we appreciate the work that you do so much, Ms. Osborne.
Thank you.
Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Bond?
Yes, of course.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Guittry?
Yes, indeed.
Ms. Parton?
Yes, and thank you.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Do I have a motion? So now we're going to appoint the deputy clerk for the Montgomery County School Board. Do I have a motion to appoint Rhonda Reed as deputy clerk of the Montgomery County School Board?
So moved.
Dr. Roundtree and Ms. Franklin? Is there any discussion? I think maybe once again, Ms. Reed, just thank you so much for stepping up to add this responsibility to your plate. Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Guittry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton? Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Great. So now we'll have the adoption of resolution affirming officers of the County School Board of Montgomery County. I need a motion to adopt a resolution affirming our officers as Laura Purcell for Board Chair and Derek Roundtree for Vice Chair, Tosh Osborne for Clerk, and Rhonda Reed as Deputy Clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Roberts and Ms. Bond? Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
No.
Dr. Guidry?
No.
Ms. Parton?
No.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
4 in favor, 3 opposed.
Okay, so now we'll move on to our board committee appointments. Historically, the board chair has made appointments or sought volunteers for other committees and boards. This year's committee appointments include 2 members for liaisons to the Board of Supervisors, 1 VSBA voting delegate, 1 VSBA alternate, 1 liaison to the Southwest Virginia Governor's School, 1 liaison to the Southwest Virginia Governor's School for Arts and Humanities, up to 2 liaisons for the Educational Foundation, at least 1 liaison to the town of Blacksburg, and at least 1 liaison to the town of Christiansburg. Do I have any volunteers or nominations for any of these appointments?
I would like to continue doing the liaison for the town of Christiansburg. Even though I haven't always got to attend a lot of the meetings, I still feel like I'm in tune with a lot of what's happening and would like to continue that. We tend to have quite a few meetings, so it doesn't always work for me to attend another one. But if the board is okay with that.
If it's the will of the board, I would be willing to continue to be the town of Blacksburg representative.
Be interested in doing the Southwest Governor's School for Science and Technology.
I'd like to do the Montgomery County Educational Foundation.
So, Penny, would you be interested in being the delegate? Because I've been that several years. So if you would be interested in being the delegate, I'll sign up to be the alternate if you're interested. If you're not, I can continue to do that. Or if anyone else is interested in that, I can certainly do the alternate instead of being the voting delegate. Okay.
I can be the delegate if that's
Okay.
more convenient.
Why don't you let Dr. Roundtree be the delegate and I'll do the alternate? That way it gives some others some opportunity. I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that for several years, so I don't mind doing that. And I would also like to continue the town of Christiansburg with Ms. Bond. I live here and know a lot of people on town council, so I have an opportunity to speak with them frequently and find out information and hopefully bring anything that would affect the schools or the school board back to the board. So if the board is okay with that, I would like to continue that committee appointment with Ms. Bond. And I would like to also remind the board that I am still serving on the Juvenile Justice and Domestic Committee for the state of Virginia. I was appointed by Governor Youngkin 2 years ago. I still have 2 years left in my term, so I am still going to be on committees for that, as well as serve on that committee. So I do travel to Richmond a couple times a month for that, so I will still continue to serve on that for the good of all students and children in the state of Virginia, and hopefully bring some help from that back to Montgomery County Public Schools. I'm sorry, Penny, you did. So let Derek be I forgot you wanted to be the alternate. Let Derek and Penny do the VSBA, and I'll just do the town, and I'll still do the state committee.
I had been asked by the division to be the board representative for the Southwest Virginia Governor's School for the Arts and Humanities, and that has extended through the development of that program to then its approval by the VDOE. I also am on the search committee for the director of that school, and we are in the midst of that process. And because of that commitment, I would just like to be able to see that through and just continue with what I had already said I would do to represent the division in that way. And I would also continue to serve on the Montgomery County Educational Foundation. And traditionally, the Board of Supervisors liaisons has been the chair and vice chair. Are there any other questions, concerns, speaking up? Or I guess we'd have discussion after the motion. Are we ready for a motion to approve committee appointments?
So moved.
Second? Dr. Roundtree and Ms. Franklin. Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitchery?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Excellent. Okay, so now we move on to adoption of resolution appointing agent and deputy agent for signing claims. As part of the annual reorganization, I need a motion to approve the resolution appointing an agent and deputy agent and approving the attached resolutions as presented, providing them with authorization to sign claims without the board chair or vice chair being present. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I have Dr. Roundtree and Mr. Roberts.
Is there any discussion further? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitchery?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Now we move on to the appointment of the superintendent designees. Situations may occur when the division superintendent is out of the office at a time when their signature is needed. On such occasions, persons other than the superintendent may be authorized by the local school board to sign documents. Do I have a motion to appoint the interim assistant superintendent as a superintendent designee?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin? No. Dr. Gitchery?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, moving right along. So now we are looking at a schedule of meeting dates, time, and location. Our next item is to set meeting dates, times, and locations for the year. The meeting calendar is provided in board docs. Do I have a motion to approve the 2026 meeting calendar as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Roberts and Ms. Franklin, any discussion? I think the only thing that I would like to say is that we do need to pin down some dates for retreats. We have some time-sensitive things to deal with throughout this year. And perhaps we don't put this on the official calendar for moving through things today. But Ms. Osborne, perhaps if you could reach out to board members and schedule a spring retreat that happens before April and maybe a fall retreat that happens September or after, that would be wonderful. Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Okay, adoption of hiring practices resolution. The hiring practices resolution has been adopted annually since 1992. Do I have a motion to reaffirm the hiring practices resolution?
Second.
Ms. Bond and Dr. Roundtree, is there any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Oh,
I do have concerns about our hiring practices, and that is why I vote no on personnel reports. But I will vote yes on this resolution because this is what we say we're going to do.
thank you, Ms. Franklin. Any other discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Okay. Now we move on to the adoption of board procedures, code of ethics, and standards of conduct. Annually, the school board revisits the board procedures, standards of conduct, and code of ethics as noted in policy 1-1.6 and 1-1.7. Do I have a motion to reaffirm this policy?
So moved.
Dr. Roundtree and Ms. Bond, any discussion?
I have a question. So there's something going on with board docs, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding, because when I clicked on 117, it says that it's retired. Is that, and then when I've looked several times, it's like, am I seeing this correctly? Is anybody else seeing that it's saying retired? I don't remember it being retired. It might be a board doc issue.
It's 1-1.6.
1-1.7, Code of Ethics.
I just clicked on it and it opened up okay, but it could be a glitch that's like in and out.
But what does it say on your end when you look at the status? Does it say retired? Like, it opens it up. Okay, that's very strange.
I see adopted April 2004 and revised May 2021.
That's what I see.
I was confused. It said.
Apologies. I have status as active.
Okay. I want to look at something on board docs. Okay, that's fine. I just was very confused why we were readopting something that had been, and I didn't think it had been retired.
All right. If there isn't no further discussion, Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Okay, we'll move on to our school board norms and protocols. The norms and protocols were adopted in January of 2021. They were revised and approved again in March 2024 and revisited in April 2025 and partially revised. Do I have a motion to reaffirm the school board norms and protocols?
So moved.
Mr. Roberts and Ms. Bond, any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton? Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Our reaffirmation of statement of inclusivity. Do I have a motion to reaffirm the school division's statement of inclusivity?
So moved.
Dr. Gitry and Ms. Franklin? Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Adoption of resolution authorizing the superintendent to settle claims against the school board. Do I have a motion to approve a resolution granting authority to the division superintendent to authorize settlement of claims against the school board?
So moved.
Dr. Roundtree and Ms. Franklin, is there any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Gitry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton? Yes. Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Excellent. And there is, our MCPS policy manual is available on the MCPS website at www.mcps.org. Printed copies are available to citizens as needed by contacting the clerk of the board. And now we get to move on to the fun stuff, which is why our room is so full tonight. So thank you all for being patient with the things that we needed to do to get our year started. We'll begin with the VHSL Fall 2025 Athletic Champions. And Dr. Lori Comer, Director of Secondary Education, will begin our recognition for the VHSL Fall 2025 Athletic Champions. Thank you, Dr. Comer.
Dr. Graham, student representatives. Tonight we're going to celebrate some student athletes that were named Fall 2025 Virginia High School League state champions. These students have demonstrated hard work, dedication, lots of practice, and a love for their sport. Tonight we will begin with Mr. Hurd from Auburn High School that will introduce his state champions, and then Mr. Stewart from Blacksburg High will introduce his state champions.
Good evening. Could the Auburn High School golf team, accompanied by their coach, Mr. Jeff Gandy, join me? The Auburn High School golf team won an individual and a state championship this fall. As the defending state champion, Auburn left little doubt as to this year's outcome right from the start of the season. Placing second at the opening invitational, the team raced through a regular season in which their only loss in Class 1 were on the day where we didn't play all the top players. This is a very difficult team to make. Everybody here can break 80 in golf. For the last month of the season, the team went 33-0, winning the district championship at home by 29 strokes and the region championship by 31. The team felt well prepared for the cross-country trip to Rappahannock for the state final. Matthew Altizer set the tone by being the top golfer at the tournament. Right behind him was Gaston Wimmer at number 2. Liam Smith gave Auburn 3 of the top 7 finishers, and the Eagles cruised to a 14-stroke victory over the rest of the field. This is our golf team's second consecutive state championship and the third overall. Losing only 2 golfers from this team, and with the strong JV program, with the help of the Patron Foundation, we're hoping to keep our streak alive and win another next year. So congratulations to the Auburn High School golf team. Our individual state champion was Matthew Altizer. Matthew faced more competition from within his own team than from the rest of Class 1 in winning the individual state championship and being named the Class 1 Player of the Year. At 3 under at the turn, he cruised through the back nine, not bogeying a hole until the 18th, when he was already 4 strokes up on the field. Matthew is the 3rd Auburn golfer to win the state tournament and be named Player of the Year, and this year's 2nd consecutive state individual winner. Congratulations, Matthew.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to start with inviting Coach Maddox and members of our golf team up to the front to be recognized. "2025 was a good year for Blacksburg golf. First, a team consisting of Jake Albert, Pierce Campbell, Graydon Laird, Cameron Sharp, and Jack Skinner, led by Coach Maddox, went to the boys' PGA Championship at Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf, and shot 13 under par in a 3-day tournament to beat 55 other state championship teams across the nation to be crowned National Boys PGA Champions for 2025. Next, BHS Golf repeated as Class 4 champions, winning by 18 strokes at Heritage Oaks Golf Course in Harrisonburg. It should be noted that the 2025 was supposed to be a rebuilding year because Blacksburg lost 4 starters off last year's team. However, this team gelled midway through the season and went on to capture their 5th state golf title in a row. Congratulations. I'd like to invite Coach Howard and his coaching staff and any members of the boys and girls cross country team up to the front. The Blacksburg cross-country teams both successfully defended their state titles this year on the hilly Oatlands Plantation course. This was the 4th state title in a row for the boys and the 3rd in 4 years for the girls. It's worth noting that both the Blacksburg men's and women's cross-country teams have the state record for most cross-country state titles across all classes. The men have 14 state titles, and the women have won a staggering 21 cross-country state titles. Additionally, the Blacksburg cross-country women are the only team in the state across all classes and both genders that have qualified for all 44 state meets that have ever occurred. The team achieved their difficult victories through hard work. Go Bruins. Congratulations.
Girls first, and do boys. Okay, it worked. Break it down that way. Coaches would hop in. There, Mr. Stewart.
Congratulations, and thanks you all so much. So now we'll move on to honoring our seniors of the month. Dr. Lori Comer, Director of Secondary Education, will start our presentation for the seniors of the month.
As we begin the new year of 2026, it is my distinct pleasure to recognize our January Seniors of the Month. With only 5 short months remaining before we celebrate these students at graduation, we pause this evening to honor their accomplishments and to reflect on the positive impact they've made across their school communities. These students exemplify the very best of Montgomery County Public Schools through their scholarship, their leadership, their service, and their character. They have distinguished themselves not only through strong academic performance, but also through their commitment to others, their involvement in school and community activities, and their willingness to lead with integrity and compassion. Tonight, we are proud to recognize these outstanding seniors who truly represent the values of our division and the promise of our future. Our Senior of the Month from Eastern Montgomery High School could not be with us tonight due to a sporting event already scheduled for this same time. We will begin with Mr. Hurd from Auburn, followed by Mr. Stewart from Blacksburg, and we will end with Mr. Gwynn from Christiansburg.
Good evening again. The January Senior of the Month for Auburn High School is Brody Hensel. If Brody and his family can join me. Brody has excelled in his time at Auburn High School in many ways. He's an excellent baseball player, among the best in the state, as is evidenced by his being named to the All-State team on 2 occasions. He's a fierce left-handed pitcher who's headed to Concord University to continue his career as a player. He's excellent in the classroom and always takes care of business academically. But perhaps Brody's finest attribute is his character. He's always willing to show kindness and respect for all those around him. On one occasion, I personally watched him leading a tour of upcoming 9th graders, and a young lady who was clearly challenged and overwhelmed by the high school was part of this group. Brody walked with the young lady throughout the tour and reassured her that the experience would be okay. Very few high school students would do this. His baseball coach said of Brody that he's an outstanding young man who genuinely cares for others. He's an extremely hard worker and a wonderful role model for other players in our program. Brody will be successful in whatever future endeavors he pursues. He plans to attend Concord University and major in business. AHS will miss him greatly upon his graduation, and we look forward to seeing how high he can fly. Congratulations, Brody.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Graham. It is my pleasure to announce the Blacksburg High School Senior of the Month. For January, we are proud to recognize Xavier Gitry. At this time, I'd like to invite Xavier and his family to join me as I read a brief statement from one of his teachers. In my 21 years as an educator at Blacksburg High School, never have I encountered a student who embodies such an extraordinary combination of intellect, character, and passion. Xavier's kindness, unfailing compassion, tireless work ethic, and vibrant enthusiasm have left a lasting, positive legacy in our school community. Xavier's passion for ornithology is not only extraordinary, but also infectious. From his first days as a freshman in my honors chemistry class, it was clear that he possessed a unique blend of curiosity and joy for his field. Xavier's dedication extends beyond the classroom as he actively works to conserve vital habitats and bird species and delights in sharing his expertise with everyone, from peers to younger students. His sincere love for science inspires those around him to share in his excitement and appreciation for nature. Though our BHS community will profoundly miss him once he graduates, I am comforted knowing that he will undoubtedly continue to give back as an alumnus and leader as he heads off to Cornell in the fall. Congratulations, Xavier.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Graham, and our student representatives. It is my pleasure to introduce the January Senior of the Month for Christiansburg High School as Miss Juliana Burks. I would like to ask Juliana and her family to come forward at this time. When asking some of her teachers to describe Juliana, they said, Juliana is a young woman who serves as the true embodiment of willpower and the very picture of resiliency. Over the past several months, Juliana has demonstrated an extraordinary spirit of resilience by maintaining her academic focus and earning a place on the AB Honor Roll despite the rigors of a cancer diagnosis and its subsequent treatments. Her teachers describe her as a strong, hardworking, and caring individual who consistently arrives to her classes full of joy, determination, and a readiness to work. Even in the face of challenges most will never experience, she has never allowed her diagnosis to dampen her spirit, but instead, each day that she has come to school, she is ready to do her work and love on her classmates. Now in remission, Juliana serves as an ambassador of courage, setting a powerful example for anyone facing adversity that it is possible to overcome significant obstacles while remaining a respectful, kind-hearted, and optimistic individual. As her teachers aptly stated, her ability to persevere with grace and optimism speaks volumes about her character and the impact she has on her school community. Myself and the entire staff at Christiansburg High School are beyond proud of Juliana and cannot wait to see her excel with the same grace in her next chapter. And right before I got to come up here tonight, her mother and her shared some exciting news that she got to ring the bell on the 30th of December. So special congratulations to this young lady.
Many happy congratulations to our seniors of the month. Now we'll move on to the Distinguished School Award. And Dr. Ann Mitchell and Dr. Lori Comer will recognize Montgomery County Public Schools that were named as a distinguished school for 2024 to 2025.
It is once again my pleasure to present to you two of our high schools as distinguished under the new School Performance and Support Framework. These schools have been identified as distinguished when performing in this top tier. It is with great honor that I recognize tonight Auburn High School and Blacksburg High School, both as distinguished schools. Would Mr. Hurd and Mr. Stewart please come forward?
Good evening, board members and Dr. Graham. It is an honor and privilege to recognize our elementary schools that earn distinguished status based on School Performance and Support Framework. This achievement reflects the collective efforts of strong school leadership, dedicated teachers, and committed staff who work tirelessly to support student success and high academic achievement. At this time, I would like to recognize the administrators of elementary schools who achieved distinguished status. When I call your name, please come forward. Dr. Megan Hawley, principal of Margaret Beeks Elementary. Miss Carrie Webb, principal of Gilbert Lincoln, and Miss Rebecca Williams, assistant principal of Gilbert Lincoln Elementary School. Dr. Mark Crummy, principal of Kipps Elementary School. And we have Mrs. Marcia Settle, principal of Hardin Elementary School, and assistant principal Rebecca Williams of Hardin Elementary School. I give them this award. We're also recognizing Hardin Elementary School for being one of our top 5 elementary schools in Region 6. Congratulations. Okay, and then carry on. Oh, can I? Yeah, sorry, thank you. Okay.
To just thank you for being here in person. Our next agenda item is public address. We welcome the opportunity to hear from students, parents, employees, and community members about education matters in this community. As a reminder, the board sets aside 30 minutes to start our public address. We have the option to extend in 30-minute increments, which Ms. Osborne will remind us of. If there are additional speakers after 90 minutes, the board will continue with their business meeting and hold one additional 30-minute session at the end of the business meeting. The clock continues through applause and disruptions. The more disruptions there are, the fewer speakers who get to address the board. I will call each speaker up by name in the order that they signed up. Each speaker has 3 minutes to address the board. The board does not respond to speakers during public address. The screens will show when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining and when time is up. Please state your name and the area of the county you live in. Our first speaker tonight is Dr. Benjamin Jansen, followed by Carl Pauley.
Good evening. I am Ben Jansen. I live in Blacksburg, and as the parent of 3 children in the district and the teacher in the college classroom of many of the district's graduates, I'd like to make a general point that pertains to a specific item on your agenda. In the realm of athletics, I think it's fair to say, especially in light of the celebration we just held of our student athletes' remarkable accomplishments, that this board and the community at large accepts that it is right and proper to celebrate excellence. Excellence that is born in equal measure from the innate talent and from the profound work ethic, the willingness to strive that these student athletes demonstrate. I think it's also fair to say that we recognize the role of competition in cultivating both that talent and the work ethic it takes to realize the potential of that talent. My general point is just that these principles apply equally well to academics as to athletics. What that means is that, broadly speaking, what we need when it comes to assessment in the district, and that we do not at present have, is a way of distinguishing amongst accomplishments, a way of cultivating that competition in a healthy fashion. We need a way to distinguish between an achievement that's an A+ and an achievement that's an A-. We need to allow students to position themselves relative to their peers. The athletes you saw here didn't strive to be very good. They strove against their peers to be the best. They're the state champions, right? Not the state very good group. We similarly need the ability for students to hold a rank and to celebrate the excellence of being a valedictorian or a salutatorian. We need to adequately recognize the difference in accomplishment between successfully completing advanced courses like AP and dual enrollment relative to other courses. And that brings me to the particular point concerning a matter of GPA calculation that you face this evening. If in fact we embrace these 2 principles of recognizing excellence and the need for healthy competition to foster that excellence, then at the very least, we need adequate recognition of the differential in accomplishment between these levels of classes, and we should adjust our GPA calculation accordingly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Jansen. Our next speaker is Carl Pauley, followed by Godmar Bach.
Good evening, Carl Pauley. I live in Christiansburg, Virginia. In your December meeting, Dr. Guitry expressed concern that issues with GPA calculation have been brought to his attention by a friend of his back in June. For the past 6 months, he has been trying his best to convince the rest of you to revise the way MCPS calculates weighted GPA, and he's expressed frustration that no action has yet been taken. The current method used by MCPS to calculate weighted GPA was developed after almost 3 years of study by 2 different committees involving 50 individuals and a student-parent survey with over 2,600 respondents. Several board members have had questions about why we calculate GPA differently from other school divisions, and they expressed concern that our method might somehow disadvantage our students when competing with students from other divisions. The 2018 committee found that there are basically as many different ways to calculate GPA as there are school divisions. Some divisions even reported using 6- and 7-point scales. College admissions counselors who responded to the committee's inquiries included Virginia Tech, Radford, Roanoke College, University of Richmond, UVA, William & Mary, Duke, Princeton, MIT, and Harvard. These admissions counselors were unanimous in their responses. They do not use the GPA calculated by high schools to compare students in admissions decisions. They have developed their own systems for evaluating student transcripts. There were also a lot of questions about what denominator should be used, 8, 16, 24, 32, to determine the GPA bonus. The 2018 committee determined that using 32 as the denominator would produce GPAs that are very similar to our previous system. On page 5 of what I provided, I've suggested revisions to the MCPS GPA policy. Explaining how the bonus is calculated and added to a student's GPA has clearly caused confusion. If your goal is to provide MCPS students with the highest possible GPAs, the board can decide to add a value higher than the 0.01325 for advanced classes. It's done differently everywhere, so it really doesn't matter. The most important part of the policy is to retain is continuing to add a fixed bonus to a GPA for AP and DE courses, regardless of when the course is taken or how many unweighted credits a student has. In both your November and December meetings, Dr. Guittry stated that the current method for calculating GPA was, quote, intended to lead more students to take fewer AP courses and to take other courses like fine arts. This is a misrepresentation of the policy's intent. The change in GPA calculation was not to motivate students to take less AP courses or to take more fine arts courses. The change was intended to allow students the freedom to take unweighted courses like fine arts without lowering their GPA. Please read through the factual information that I've provided to you. A decision to make changes to current policy should not be based on the opinions of a board member to advantage a board member's child or in response to a board member's friend who has asked him to get the policy changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Polly. And Mr. Bach?
Thank you. Can you hear me? My name is Gottmar Berg. I live in Blacksburg. I'm also the parent of a child who's now in 9th grade. I'm here to talk about the same topic that Dr. Pauly just mentioned. And in fact, Dr. Pauly, I met with him. We discussed this in 2018 when that change was made. At the time, Dr. Pauly pointed out that there was a race among Blacksburg students to achieve the highest GPA, and the system back then was one that indeed discouraged the taking of unweighted classes. That was fixed, and I agree with Dr. Pauly that this fix was necessary. We cannot have a system where unweighted classes count against students. That said, the new system is a system that is not as arbitrary as Dr. Pauly makes it appear. In fact, what is the weighted GPA for? It is true, the committee pointed this out, that some colleges recompute GPAs. Does this mean all colleges do? Small colleges that don't have the software? We don't know that. Second, may I ask this, why is the weighted GPA listed prominently on the transcript of the student every semester? Well, there has to be some value to it. And what is that value? That value is to allow us to compare students that come from different districts. And the current system is one where two students from different counties in Virginia with the same number of classes, advanced classes, the student from Montgomery County will come up with a lower GPA. So that means that somebody who uses the weighted GPA, however limited, as a single measure of comparison, they will find our students to be less worthy than others. That is unnecessary, that is self-inflicted, and that is not something that we should do to our students in my opinion. Yes, it is true that there are different ways of computing GPAs, right? But there is still an expectation in the country that when people report their weighted GPA, what it means. And finally, let me point out one thing. I don't think there is a need that the added weight is constant no matter when a class was taken. There's no such thing. If the goal is, as the policy states, to be comparable to a GPA that was computed using the traditional system, which, by the way, is still used in the majority of the country, then there's no need to have a constant a bonus added, but rather it could be adjusted. I will conclude by agreeing with Dr. Pauly that another option that the board has is to reconsider the general amount that is being added to the GPA. That would also be a way that would disadvantage our students less, that would make it so that when students from Montgomery County and different counties are compared, the Montgomery County student will not appear worse on paper for no reason whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bach. Okay. Seeing no further signups for public address, we will consider public address closed and move on to our consent items. Of note, we have a donation from Chi Delta Alpha with Virginia Tech. $887.59 was raised and donated to the LINK program at Harding Avenue Elementary School. If no one wishes to move an item out of consent, we will consider these items approved. Okay, we'll move on to the financial reports. Do I have a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the financial summary report for November 2025? Ms. Franklin and Ms. Bond? Any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the payment of the bills. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of bills as presented for fiscal year 2025-2026? Ms. Bond and Ms. Franklin, any discussion? Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Yes. Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Excellent. Now we'll move on to the report from the superintendent, and I'll pass things along to Dr. Graham.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed the winter break and that you're excited about moving into second semester. I think congratulations are in order to everyone, students, staff, parents, and the board for a very successful first semester. Also, I wanted to congratulate our new board chair, Ms. Purcell, congratulations. And vice chair, Dr. Roundtree, congratulations. And welcome Matt Roberts, who is our newest board member and represents District A. Welcome. I want to share that at the end of first semester, with the help of facilities, branch, and technology, the staff of CHS moved several classrooms, and Avi went into that in detail a few minutes ago. We're very excited about that. The renovation of the school will continue through second semester and is progressing very well. The plan is to have the school fully ready for the start of next school year. As you just heard, MCPS has a lot to be proud of, from academic recognitions to athletic awards. We have a very full agenda tonight, so I will be brief, but tonight you will also hear a budget presentation and an instructional presentation. In both of those, we want to highlight and celebrate the accomplishments of our school division and continue with the positive progression as we move into second semester. Finally, I want to announce that I had previously planned commitments, so I will not be at the next board meeting, but I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Widener, who will be covering in my absence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Graham. Our next item on the agenda is a superintendent search update, and kind of given the disruption of holidays and people's schedules, there's really not much we could share besides that things are progressing along, and when we can give more details, we will do that. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is our alternative to 10-day suspension and approval. The administration presented information on an alternative to 10-day suspensions on November 11th, 2025. The proposal is brought back tonight with the additional information from Dr. Mike Brown regarding the timeline.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Graham, just to give you an update on the alternative to 10-day suspension program here. The plans should be done tomorrow or Thursday. I spoke with our architect this morning, and he let me know that they should be done tomorrow or Thursday. Once they're complete, I will get with the contractor and start the process of getting a price for the construction. Once we get that, probably 40 to 60 days to get it constructed. We're hoping to get it done by May. The classroom portion of it done by May.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. Are there any questions about the construction portion of the program? Or I see Dr. Stanley here as well, if there are any questions just about the program itself.
I did have one question, and it just might be that I'm not looking in the right place, but do we have the construction part or the monetary portion for this program? Is that incorporated into the budget that we have been shown? Is there I didn't see it as a line item on the budget slide. That's why I was wondering, I'm assuming it's incorporated in there somewhere. I just didn't see it spelled out.
Right, there's a part incorporated for the staffing, but the construction would be in this year's budget. So
Would be in
for
next
staffing
year's
would be for
budget.
next year.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I have is it okay if I go? Yeah. I have a construction-related question. So this is experimental. The space that's being renovated, is that a space that Montgomery Central can use regardless of the program? Like, let's say we run the program as a pilot for a year and we realize this is too complicated. What effect does that have on Montgomery Central? Is this an improvement to the facilities for the building as well as creating a space for the program?
My belief, it is an improvement to the building, to the facility. If the program did not, if it should happen to not exist, I believe that that space could be used as an extra classroom, a technology area. It could be utilized for another use. We're taking a part of the old cafeteria, just a small corner of it, and so it can be used for other things in the future, I believe.
Okay, great, thank you. I have other questions, but no other ones related to the construction.
Does anyone else have questions for Dr. Brown about the construction? Does anyone have questions for Dr. Stanley? I hate to put you on the spot, but does anyone have questions for Dr. Stanley or Dr. Comer just about the program itself? Or whomever is correct to address it, Dr. Graham. Go ahead, Dr. Guitry.
I have a couple of program questions. So the way that it's presented to us now is kind of a one-off program. A student gets a short-term suspension. It's more than 4 days. They have this option. But what if we have a student who does this and is, say, unsuccessful? Do we want to have in place some sort of framework so that they know, like, this is an opportunity, but if you go back into the school and you continue to have the same issues, you know, this isn't just an out, and I don't want to just put it that way, but you know what I'm saying? Like, let's say we have someone who has repeated discipline issues, because I could see how it would be like, hey, let's just get rid of them in this program for a few days. They come back, and then there's a repeat of a discipline issue with that child that's not addressed in the most effective manner.
It is an alternative to 10-day suspensions, because when a student misses 10 days, that's 2 weeks of instruction. And, a student missing 10 days, and we're looking at a chronically absent student there.
Right.
So the first 3 days of it are spent at home in an out-of-school environment. And that gives time for the school, the teacher at the home school, to get the work together, work with sending it over to the alternative site. And then that student would report there on day 4
Right.
of that 10 days. They would spend day 4, 5, and 6. During that time, they would, of course, do the academic work, but it's important that we hire a teacher and give them some training in some strategies, some coping mechanisms that they could teach, do some role playing, do some things with that student to help them be successful, so that when they go back into their homeschool setting, that they've got some strategies to draw upon. Now, if that student is receiving some services like NRVCS, NCG, hopefully those services, would be able to continue there because they have services there. But what we want to do is we want to give that student some mechanisms to deal with this. So hopefully they're not a repeat offender, but of course, things happen. But hopefully, we wouldn't see a lot of repeat offenders with that.
Yeah, thank you. So I think I understand the program and how those first few days you need some time to prepare the
Right.
homework and it's going to be sent to Montgomery Central. But I've been in disciplined cases where we have students who've had multiple out-of-school suspensions, and so so I understand that they're going to be given some support there, but is there a way we can build into the program some additional parameters that might help to reduce that tendency? So for instance, if you have a student who has multiple out-of-school suspensions, you should do like a functional behavioral assessment. There are things that you should do. So I just wondered if in this program, because it's really an in or out, it doesn't really address someone who's more chronic with out-of-school suspensions, how they should be handled. And so I would like to see some of that, some deliberation over that.
And if a student is having multiple suspensions, there definitely needs to be that functional behavior assessment occurring at the home school to determine the function of the behavior and why is that student behaving in such a manner.
Yeah.
That certainly does need to happen.
Yeah, I'd love to see that actually built into the program, because we know that with out-of-school suspension, when that out-of-school suspension is over, that kid has the right, rightly so, to go right back into the classroom.
Sure.
But this is an additional service, so if we are able to have a carrot saying, okay, so you've gone back into school, but there's some things we need to do, so that if you do still have behavioral issues, that we can try to address them
Right.
effectively.
And part of that functional behavior assessment is the creation of that behavior intervention plan afterwards, that we have some interventions in place for when these things occur.
Yeah.
So that intervention plan is important too. And I might add that if that student is successful on day 4, 5, and 6, they're able to go back on day 7, 8, and 9, that they're not out of school. They get to go back. So those days they're back in school. Day 4, 5, and 6, they're in school in this alternative setting. So we end up with our extra days 4 through 10, which originally would have been just out of school, that they're actually back in a school setting and being counted present, and they're not just sitting at home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I'm in favor in general of the program. I would like to see it run as a pilot program for the first year and to to have it come before the board a year from now to see if it's working, because I think that there are things that we haven't really thought about, just because this is, I mean, I know that there was a program before, but, you know, there are a number of students who have IEPs, and there are just other facets to this. And so I would be supportive, but I would like to see it be a pilot first, a commitment of a year, and then to evaluate in a year to see if it's really meeting the goals.
And I welcome Mr. Garrettson or Mr. Stanley to jump in also, because when we talked about this, we did want to take a look at our discipline data and see maybe where our hot spots are, where our highest numbers are occurring, and maybe start there and see how that works. And, you know, and maybe select 2 schools where we're seeing our highest numbers. And as with any new program you implement, after some implementation time, you of course need to check for effectiveness. Is this program working or not?
Okay, great, thank you. I'm curious to hear from my other board members.
Any other questions, Ms. Franklin?
Okay, so, you know, I hear what you're saying about multiple disciplinary infractions and even being put out of school for 2 or 3 days at a time. And what I have seen and what I believe is happening is that the interventions, as you said, that should be happening at the home school may not be happening in the way that they should. So we need to analyze what's happening there and make sure we're consistent across the district as far as what we're doing to help support our students. And as far as students with IEPs and other special needs, there was another program that helped support those students. So that was called Rivendell, right? So there's different facets as to what is happening at Montgomery Central, and that's where we need to get down into the details of how each thing is happening at Montgomery Central. But as far as getting these students back into the classroom as soon as possible, this should have never stopped. And how it did stop, I've got some thoughts on that, but I'm so thankful for you all for finally hearing and coming up with something to get our students in the classroom, because it does us no good for them to be out of the classrooms. So thank you.
Ms. Bond, do you have any questions or concerns? Ms. Parton?
So I do have some of the same concerns that Dr. Guitry have, as far as we haven't gotten into the weeds with it yet because we haven't tried it. But how and where else do we know that this has been successful? Do we know if this program has worked or been successful at another school?
Just what they've done in the past, which someone else could probably speak better to that as to how they handled that in the past. I think it was more short term, like if a student was suspended, like they'd just call up and tell Mr. Stanley, hey, we're going to send them over there. So I'll let them speak to that.
Yes, I think I'll address your, Dr. Geacher, I think what you were getting at is, where are we going to go with kids that are constantly being suspended for multiple times, or long-term 10 days multiple times? So there is a process for students to come to Montgomery Central. We have 9-week reviews in October, December, March, and May. So that's a time when principals can say, hey, here's some students, and we have a large committee, Dr. Comer, Mr. Garrettson, we have Dr. Liggins on that. So that's an opportunity to kind of fix some of those problems. Of course, the board can place students at Montgomery Central. I think when I look at what did or didn't work previously, one of the problems was there was this kind of feeling that we're trying to get rid of students for multiple days. We saw the same students over and over for 1 day, 2 days, 1 day, 2 days. Then we weren't having enough work that was being sent. And so that was a problem. I think this can be very successful. That's why this committee has kind of looked at having a different process. We looked at what wasn't working previously. And I think a pilot program where we look at this, and I think this can be successful if the students will buy in and the principals have bought in to looking at reducing that suspension. And that was a big piece, was, are you going to agree that you suspended this student for this many days, and now they've done what they said they would do, and we're going to reduce that? That is that restorative piece we're looking at. And I don't think there's anything wrong with making this a one-year program. Also, I would say we want the facility, if we get this designed like Dr. Brown has looked at, this will be a great place for us to have either small meetings, small group testing, another classroom. So it does have some real opportunities, even if we decide the program's not being successful. So hopefully that answered some of the questions.
Thank you for explaining that, and I do agree with you. I do agree that I would rather have the students in school than at home, and I can assure you that a lot of them, that I have people and community members that I've talked to in my district struggle with that for several different reasons. So I don't want kids sitting at home not doing anything when they can be sitting somewhere getting some work done and doing something.
Well, and this is an opportunity. That is the presentation, that this is an opportunity for young people to learn from their mistakes and then be successful and move forward.
And I think the way you have put it, as far as you know what, you kind of have done the research, and that was my whole thing. And it looks like you guys know what's going to work and how we're going to try to achieve it, which is kind of what I was looking for. So thank you for that, and I am definitely all about having them not at home and in school if we can, if possible. So thank you for the information.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yeah, so just a couple comments. Thank you for putting this all together. As we move forward, I think a pilot program is great, and reevaluation, looking at getting that initial 3 days to less, 2 days, possibly 1 day, not same day, is something that I would be hopeful that we could do, but I understand the transition time possibly being a critical part of this. And getting our 10-day suspensions, especially initial and second 10-day suspensions, down to 3-day effective suspensions, where we have dedicated instructional time, either in the alternative school or for those last 3 days in the home school. I'm really hopeful that will reduce our 3, 4, 5 time 10-day suspensions, because the kids aren't going to fall behind as easily. They're going to have the instructional time, and when they go back, they're going to be caught up with their classes in a more positive manner, that they can interact still and not be disruptive because they've fallen behind in the coursework. So thank you.
Mr. Roberts?
No questions.
Okay. Are there any further questions about the presentation, or we can move on to the motion and then have discussion?
Sorry, I don't know if this is more appropriate for after the motion, but this impacts policy. I don't know if the administration has thought about how the board should handle it if the board does approve. If there's a resolution that, and this is one of the questions about doing something as a pilot and then evaluating a year, is that we would have to change our discipline policy, because none of this is in our policy. So I don't know if you have talked about how to handle that and at what point, and how we should handle it.
We really haven't talked about changing the policy, but I can bring something back for you. We can look into it. I don't know that we changed policy when we stopped before, so.
No, I think it was just, that was an alternative, because we may still have students that choose not to accept this, or parents that choose not to accept this opportunity, as I call it.
Yeah.
They'll say that they'll just take their 10-day suspension, which happened quite frequently when we ran through this program in a different way, but that was fairly common. Some parents or students were unwilling to come to Montgomery Central to serve that suspension time. So I guess we'll see. I don't know that we would need that, but that's a little out of my jurisdiction.
Thank you. And I'm not saying that we need to change, but we need to at least consider that. How to do
Yes, we'll look at it, but I don't think we need to. Mr. Garrettson, do you recall? I don't think we required a policy change.
We did not have a change in policy previous with the old Phoenix program. Certainly, it would be very easy if it's the board's desire to add probably a few lines to the code of conduct that would simply say this alternative is available, just so it lives in policy. And then whether we pilot and are successful or not successful, the board can just as easily remove it if that's where the team lands after seeing the program in action. I think it would be very easy.
Okay. If there are no further questions about the presentation, do I have a motion to approve the alternative education program proposal as presented?
Second.
Ms. Franklin and Dr. Roundtree, any further discussion?
I do have the question. So I'd like to, at least a couple of people had indicated they'd like to do it as a pilot for a year and then reevaluate. And I am in support. Could there be a consensus about that? Or are we just going to implement it and just run it?
I hear you on the pilot program, but when we're putting $137,000 into a program, I kind of have a problem with it doing it just a pilot.
So, well, okay. I have my opinion about this money fixing a problem, which folks says we need to fix what we have. I don't believe it should be a pilot program because we need to be doing something. And I agree. Why put the money and the effort, the construction into doing a pilot? This is something to fix a problem that we have. If we need to tweak it, we can tweak it just like we do anything else that comes before the board. So we just need to move forward with the program.
I'm in agreement with Ms. Franklin there. Having it reported back to us and giving recommendations for the continuation of it is reasonable. At the end of a year, I mean, with any new program, we should get a report on how it went the first year, and we should have the opportunity to comment on how we think it should continue going forward. But I think we have to get kids in school that are out for 40, 50 days before they come and see us for an expulsion hearing because they've been behind in school and they just keep causing trouble because they're not keeping up with their coursework. And it's not possible to miss 50 days of school and then keep up with what's going on in the classroom. At least it's not possible for me when I was a kid.
Mr. Roberts, any discussion?
I'm not going to drag the meeting out any longer. I agree with Ms. Bond, Ms. Parton, Dr. Roundtree, and Ms. Franklin.
All right. Is that, I think I share that sentiment in that we have a problem that we need to address. And I think this is a great first step, and we'll make some tweaks along the way. as we need to. And I appreciate all the effort and thought that's gone into this. And I look forward to seeing how it can make a difference. So unless there's any other further comments, Ms. Osborne, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bond? Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Dr. Guidry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Purcell?
Yes.
Dr. Roberts?
Yes.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
7 in favor.
Okay. Our next agenda item is our English as a Second Language program update. Emily Altizer, our Administrator of Federal Programs, ESL, and Preschool, will present an update on the MCPS ESL program. And this is just a presentation with no action required.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, student representatives, and Dr. Graham. I'm here tonight to give you a short update on the ESL program. But before starting, I do want to give a shout out and a thank you to the ESL Advisory Committee. We have 2 members here tonight. We have Gooden Karan, and we also have Sue Perry, a teacher with Hardin Avenue. And I also want to thank Mariana Sierra, who couldn't be here tonight, who was a great help in developing the presentation alongside me and the board and the advisory members. So, as we get started, these are the agenda items that we'll talk about tonight. We're going to talk about our ESL growth and the active Ls over 5 years, our SLIFE and our newcomer student increase over several years, our ESL proficiency growth data and our exit data, improvement in our ESL program, we've had lots of improvement, and our current needs. So as you can see, here's a chart or graph here on your left of our current active Ls. You can see this graphed over about a 6-year period, starting in 2021 till current. In 2021, we had 337 active Ls, and in a very short period of time, we have grown to 545. Within those active Ls, we also have 245 more students that are either in year 1, 2, 3, or 4 monitoring status. These are students that were active Ls that have exited, but we still monitor them and work with them as needed. So that's a total of 790 students that we consider ESL program students in Montgomery County. Within those 445 active students, we currently have 17 of those students identified with an IEP who we consider dually identified students, who we have to work very closely with our special ed program team in serving those students as well. Our next slide here shows you newcomer student status. Newcomer students are students who enter the U.S. from outside another country, and they have been here for at least 2 years or less. As you can see in 2023, we had 23 newcomer students enter Montgomery County Public Schools, and in 2025, we had 109 students enter in Montgomery County schools that were considered newcomer. That has decreased so far this year, 2026, but we are halfway through the year, so we usually have an influx in the month of January and February, so we'll just see what happens there. As you can see, there's also a green bar, and that represents SLIFE students. Our SLIFE students are students with limited or interrupted formal education that have also come from another country. So these are students that have missed several years of schooling or have not been able to go to school or have had in and out schooling. Maybe they go to school for 6 months, out of school for 6 months, in school for 3 months, out of school. But these students are what we consider SLIFE students, and they are students that are quite challenging. Right now, we have a total of 13 total SLIFE students. Our graph here shows that in 2023, we had, I think it's like 3 students entered the school system that were considered SLIFE. And in 2024, that was a larger increase. But total, right now, we have 13 students considered to be SLIFE. The red bar represents our students who are duly identified that have an IEP. And these are a total of 90 students right now that are ESL students that also have an IEP. This slide here is a very exciting slide to me. The yellow line on the left shows the increase in state target requirements that we're to achieve with ESL proficiency growth. And that is measured through the WIDA access test. As you can see in 2021, it looks like we're right at the state target, but we were actually slightly below the state target. And in that particular year, we were required to do an action plan for improvement status to try to progress and receive better scores. As you can see, we did that action plan in 2021-22, and then we had a jump in our proficiency growth in 2022, had a slight decrease in 2023, and as you can see, we are continuing to increase in our progress with that. This is exciting because we are making this progress at the same time that we're also seeing growth with our English learners in numbers. To the right is our exit data. So, we strive to exit our students out of the program, and to exit, they have to have a proficiency growth of 4.4 or higher on the access test. In 2021, we had about 15% of our students exit the program. In 2024, we had about 18%. So that's been a slight growth. Now, what's really exciting is that that action plan that we created in 2021-22, and we did go through and we did successfully meet all of our action steps. We incorporated all of these items that you see right here. One of the action steps was to increase English learner teachers, ESL teachers. As you can see, we started in 2020-22 with 7 ESL teachers, and we currently have 16.4 ESL teachers. The reason we have a 0.4 is one of our teachers is also doing our intake for the county, so part of her time is intake. This year, we added 2 paraprofessionals to the team, and that's where we're sitting right now, and it has, in my opinion, greatly affected our progress. We also increased our professional development with our classroom teachers and our ESL teachers, and that was also one of our action steps from our improvement plan. The first item here under professional development is training for all of our teachers, including content teachers, in the program Elevation. Elevation is our database program, which holds all of our data, our LEP plans, our accommodation plans for our students, as well as strategies that we can use with our students. We also are incorporating tailored PD, and that is not, that's not division-wide PD, that's school-wide PD. So I've been working with principals and principal and teams at buildings to determine what their needs are, and we've been giving PD at individual schools based on their needs. Of course, we've given PD on scaffolding. We've created an English Learner Hub. We've also incorporated this year ESL collaboration days. The ESL teachers are similar to our gifted teachers, where they're isolated in their buildings and they don't have teachers to collaborate with. So we've incorporated collaboration days that are quarterly, where they can come together as a group and a team and they can collaborate with one another. And this year, we also started monthly mentoring meetings for our new teachers. Before, we mentored the best we could virtually or after school or through email. And now we are holding monthly mentoring meetings and supporting our new teachers in that way. And lastly, we've incorporated a new program which we're implementing this year. It's at Eastern Montgomery High School, and we are transporting newcomer students to Eastern Montgomery High School to get to actually receive newcomer support and a newcomer class there at the building. And then they also are in an English language arts class for either 9th or 10th grade that's also supported by the ESL teacher. We have 10 students currently in that program, and they're either bused from Blacksburg High School or Christiansburg High School. Of course, we could bus from Auburn High School if we have the need, but we don't have the need right now. So our biggest current needs is just more teachers. Our SOQ changed 2 years ago. It used to be 1 to 50. It is now a tiered SOQ based on student proficiency level. And with that said, it increased our need for teachers. Right now, we have our SOQ shows that we have about 75% of our required teachers filled, and 25% that we're still trying to fill currently this year. We also have a strong need to help with interpreting. We have interpreters and translators that we have, we pay through our faculty and staff that help with that. We have some outside folks, but it's not enough. And so what would be very helpful is to look at interpreting devices that we could have in our school offices or we could have in our counseling offices so that they can communicate better with our families and with our students. Just to go into further detail with that teacher need, we currently, like I said, have 16.4 teachers. Our SOQ is showing that we need about 21 teachers. And that SOQ is based, like I said, on proficiency levels. And we are in compliant with our teachers right now. We've hired 2 paraprofessionals, and that helps with our compliancy. And we also are currently, of course, searching. And we have, hopefully, I have 3 candidates right now sitting on my desk. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to interview a few candidates soon that we can maybe add to our program. And I guess lastly, you can take a look here at the graph here on the right, and you can see that our SOQ is the green line, and you can see that it sharply made that steep increase in 2024. That's when the SOQ changed from 1 to 50 to the tiered model we have now. And you can see that we are gradually increasing with that. And with that, I would just like to know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Altizer. Does anyone want to begin with questions? Dr. Guidry, go ahead.
Thank you so much for your work and for the presentation. I have a question on the slide about the accountability of the spring proficiency results and how we're significantly higher. Are those results, are they from the standard SOLs for reading and writing, or what is the assessment that's being used there?
That is the WIDA Access test, and that is the test that determines their proficiency level. And that test is given, it's a standardized test that is given in the early spring. Actually, our window for this year opens next Monday. And we give that test through about the end of February.
Oh, okay. So it's completely separate then.
It is completely separate from SOLs, but they use this data also to impact that accountability measure as well.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And just to follow up, Ms. Altizer, is that an acronym, the term that you use for what the assessment's called?
WIDA.
WIDA? Yeah,
Yes,
what is that?
it's, I hope I can say it. It's the Wisconsin, it's a group out of Wisconsin, and I cannot think of what the rest of the acronym is, but that was what WIDA stands for. And the Access is the accountability test for the state.
Thank you. Sorry. I mean to interrupt other questions, but.
No, that's fine.
I wasn't sure what WIDA meant when you said it.
We are a WIDA state, and actually several states in the United States are WIDA states and follow that test.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Ms. Altizer? Ms. Bond? Ms. Parton? Ms. Franklin?
No, I just appreciate the information.
You're welcome.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yeah, I appreciate the information. And on that same slide, for the exit data, do we not have evaluation data for 2022 and 2023, or?
For 22,
22 and 23. Yeah.
It's just gradually moves up that. So it actually has been a gradual increase every year. Ms. Osborne, on that slide, are you actually in the live Canva? Okay. If you hold over the year, it tells the exact number. It's a very interactive slide. It's the one with the growth data and exit data.
Has a yellow bar across
Keep going.
the top.
You're
There, yeah, page 5, I think it is.
the next one. Yep. Just hold over the year, and it should say the exact, the next one over the graph on the right. Let's see, hover on the line maybe. Oh, there it is. So if you keep hovering, you see that year, 2021, it was 15. Can you all see the presentation? Okay. And then 2012, it increases just a little bit more. If you hover over 2012, is it not doing it? Oh, interesting. No, it was a gradual increase. I don't know why it's not showing the actual percentages, but I can give you those actual percentages if you would like. I can give that to you. But yes, it's interesting. It actually just made actually it's like 14% like the next year or something like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, any questions?
No questions. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Ms. Altizer, I just have a question about the needing more teachers. So I know that there's a budget request for 3 more teachers, and that will meet the SOQ requirements. But sometimes the SOQ requirements don't 100% reflect like what the actual need is in the classroom. So, and I also know that 1 to 50, like that's a pretty heavy caseload. So are there really more than 3 teachers needed, or maybe more para positions, just to make sure that these students are adequately supported?
Okay, so to clarify, it used to be 1 to 50, and now the SOQ is a tiered model.
Right,
So,
sorry about-
yeah, no, it's okay. And the tiered one has actually reduced the caseload, which is significant. We have schools that it's about a 1 to 25 ratio. But with that said, my opinion on that question is no. We are not fully supported, and we could always use more teachers than what the SOQ is saying. There is a heavy need to support the students in the content classroom, and with the amount of teachers we have now, we can't do that the way that we need to. We have a lot of pull-out system where we're pulling out with the ESL specialist. We do try to push into the classroom and work as much as possible, but when you're one teacher in the building, it's not possible to get into all the classrooms like we need to. And paraprofessionals will be great too. This is our first year with paraprofessionals, and it's going well. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, sorry. Moving on, our next agenda item is about the grade point average and additional information. The GPA committee reconvened to review the additional information that was provided to the board. Dr. Lori Comer and Rob Ratcliffe will present this information.
The last time we presented, we were asked to get some additional information to the board. So the board members should have received from Dr. Graham various types of information. At the bottom of this particular slide, I believe, Ms. Purcell, you asked specifically about in-state GPA reporting within the Commonwealth, and that particular document has some information there. Mr. Ratcliffe and his team spent some time pulling some additional data that was requested by board members, And he's got a synopsis here of that, and I will let him speak to that information.
I don't want to go too much in detail because it is here for everyone's time, but we did pull all of 12th grade data for their GPA just to see how it matched with the sample data, because I think that's important to have. So anything when it says it's talking about the 12th grade or any GPA is based on their end of the 11th grade year, because currently they're in their 12th grade year and we just don't have that data. So you'll see that the positive difference, if we went from a 32 to a 24 at the end of their junior year, was a 0.05 positive difference, which is the same that we had with the sample data, which is promising. That's a good thing that our sample data matched. The other thing that matched was the course totals remained at 5 as on an average for that. Among the seniors who took 4 to 6 added value classes, the average unweighted GPA was 3.70. Again, this was just all data that we just kind of looked at to see if there was anything that stood out for the committee. The other two things I want to mention there is 60 seniors took a AP or dual enrollment course for the first time this senior year. So that's a great thing. We also found that 42 seniors who previously took an AP or dual enrollment class are not taking one their senior year. Which is something that I know we kind of discussed, where if we were out in the 24 at the end of the junior year and then went to the 32 at the end of the senior, those 42 seniors, their GPA could potentially drop based on that. So the other data and information is there. I'll be glad to answer any questions based on that, along with anything else that was shared with you all. We did share with the committee the data that was shared with you as well previously.
Thank you so much. So are there any further questions from the board? Dr. Guidry?
Did you ask for actions or questions? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
So right now, I asked that this is just discussion based on this additional presentation. However, kind of where we are with this item, because the recommendation of the committee was for no change, there's not a motion. So if there aren't additional questions about this information, if there's someone who would like to make a motion to change the GPA weighting system currently to amend our grading policies, then we can move on with that.
So I'd like to put forward a motion, but I don't know.
Ms. Parton, did you want to say something?
It's
I'm sorry.
it's okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were done, Ed. I just had a thought, and it wouldn't technically be to maybe change our GPA policy per se, but to kind of help with the other issue that the other kids have. Have we thought about, why can't we add just like a 0.04 or 0.04 for an AP or a DE course? Would that be something that would be possible? Have we even thought about that? Instead of changing the GPA policy, have we thought about maybe just adding that to the course, which would end then, without changing the policy, but within, it would kind of help maybe I guess it would be the juniors, because they're applying when they're a junior. So it would help the juniors help elevate their GPA somewhat to apply. I don't know if that's even an option, or if I'm just wondering if we have even thought about doing something of that nature.
I think all things are possible within Power School as long as we're not limited there. I think that would be something that if you wanted to go down that route, we would need to get together and look at that and look at the data and how does that impact.
Okay. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
So I wanted to put forward a motion, but it was going to be contingent upon the recommendations for the Board of Alternatives. But that's not in the slide deck. I think that one of the option that was put forward to the board was to do 8, 16, 24, and 32 as a denominator at the end to account for each of the years. Is that correct?
That's correct. It was 8 at the end of freshman, 16 at the end of sophomore, 24 at the end of junior, and then 32 at the end of senior.
Okay. So I put forward a motion that we look to change the policy, because we don't have a policy document in front of us of adopting that system. And I can explain more if there's a second, but if not, then it goes nowhere.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Okay, so as you just said, there's nothing in front of us for us to say what we're moving to. I would like to see something that we're going to move to in front of us instead of just saying, let's change it.
I think it was in one of the previous presentations.
And as you're voting, one of the things I do want to put out is the timing. You know, are we talking about for this current year? I would suggest Power School recommends us not making any big changes in Power School until the new year, which the rollover will occur typically in June. So that's something that I would recommend to the board if the board would agree to that.
So when they're pulling it up, I could add a couple of points, but I'm fine waiting. Okay.
Am I correct in thinking the committee, though, suggested to leave it as is?
And I do want to point out with that, even though I'm kind of torn between the two, because I can understand both sides, but I've seen and heard the issues. I was on the board when we had it before, and there has been extensive surveys and research on why we changed it. So do we want to ignore that?
Well, I would say that it's not ignoring that, but some of the conditions have changed since then. So for instance, one of the considerations was the competition over class ranking, and well, that's not applicable anymore. So some of it is just, that's changed. Also, the number of students who are taking APDE courses has increased significantly since the policy was first introduced. So I would say that the conditions have changed considerably since the original recommendation from the committee.
One of the things we also found when we're looking at the art classes, the fine art classes, in 2018, 2019, this freshmen entering in, a policy was changed by the board. It used to state that the students in high school had to have a CTE and a fine art course. That was changed to a CTE or a fine art course. Therefore, that may be a reason that we did see some decrease in the fine art courses on some of that data.
And don't we have isn't there an AP Fine Arts course?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be one or the other. They can actually take an AP Fine Arts course.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Was one of my concerns as well, because a lot of students that are taking CTE courses sometimes are unable to take the course load that they may choose that they want to. And I know with my own daughter that happened. She couldn't take the level of advancement classes, so she was unable to take cosmetology. And so that knocks out students that may want to take those classes, are able to take those classes, are capable of taking those classes, but they want to take a CTE course that requires more, that the classes aren't available. So their GPA is not getting that boost. And that's, to me, a discrepancy to those students. So I hear what you're saying, and I was on the board as well, and saw the figures and the different things that happen with students getting certain courses to be able to boost those GPAs up. There's no more anybody any more competitive than I am, and I am all about, if you deserve it, you should get that award for your hard work. I am all about that. If you get it in earnest.
and not by arranging your class load to be able to boost that point system. And that's what was happening. So, whether it could be now, whether it's changed, I don't know. But that was the point in why it got changed to begin with, because the game was being played and being played well. And that's not fair to the other students that don't have someone that wants to play that game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I'm just looking, when I saw the statistics, the number of students who are taking these courses, it's gone up considerably. So regardless of what the policy is trying to do or not to do, it's not affecting those choices. So some may be gaming, but that's because the larger world has changed. And the state of Virginia wants students to be taking more AP courses because it's cheaper for the state for them to take that rather than to get financial aid when they go to college.
Well, and with that being said, we've also made it more available and readily for students to take those courses than it used to be. We have found avenues for students to be able to take those courses easier than maybe what they could 10 years ago. So,
Well, I could follow up with that and say that's not actually true, because if you look at our data, our groups of students who are not achieving at the level that they should be achieving, and part of that is because they're not getting that early education when they're in the elementary school and in middle school, so that they are prepared and able to take the AP classes. So it is not necessarily just because there's more AP classes doesn't mean that more students are taking it. It actually shows that some of our students are getting just more disadvantaged, so that they can't take them.
They're looking for the policy so that way you all can adopt a policy change. One of the things I will point out on that slide that we shared, the 91% of students are below or 4.0 on the unweighted. And the reason I included that because the counselors and some principals found that very enlightening, because they do have some students who are stressing because they got a B in an AP or dual enrollment class. So to be able to have those conversations with those students and say, listen, not everyone who's taking this class is a 4.0 student, and that's important.
Yeah. So I'll just say, because while they're looking at the slide, is that this is not to advantage my own child. Like, he got into Cornell without worrying about the GPA. So, and it's not just for friends or whatever. It's because I know that there are students who aren't getting A's in all of their classes or taking AP courses, and I heard a story of a student who was just under that cut line for that early decision, not the early decision, but the portal that we have with Virginia Tech. They didn't apply. And so it's those students that I'm thinking about who a point or two can actually make a difference. So even if the majority of schools, universities or colleges in the state they do their own calculations, if 10% of them rely upon our calculations, that means there will be students in our division who are harmed by a policy that is unlike any other in the state that I know of. So that's where I'm coming from, is that I think that it's those students that I'm more mindful of than I am of the ones who are, they're at the top of their class and they're just taking all these AP courses for a variety of reasons.
Is this the policy you were asking to see?
Okay, so what's projected now is our current active policy. And then you had a chart up before, Dr. Comer, that I thought showed in the spreadsheet. Yeah.
Says current versus proposed. That is projected now.
Right. So does that reflect?
Yeah, column E is what's reflecting the proposed divided by 8 for 9th grade, divided by 16 for 10th, and so forth.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm looking at, that, that I would propose as an alternative. Because right now, when it says core, it uses the word course and credit is used interchangeably. If students are taking 2 credit courses, what happens with their calculation?
So they get that added.
But are they getting double, or is it just the same bump that they're getting based on the denominator of 32?
It gets bumped to their course.
Okay, so they effectively double the bump?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so I think what we see now in column E on the spreadsheet that Dr. Comer has displayed for us reflects Dr. Guidry's motion, and Dr. Roundtree, you seconded that. We've had some discussion in our technological journey here. Are there other comments, questions? Dr. Roundtree, Mr. Roberts?
So I'm giving a great deal of weight to the committee's finding. I think it's concise, it's very clear, I think it's very unambiguous. I like the recommendation, giving a great deal of weight to Ms. Bond's comments and Ms. Franklin's comments. So I was on the fence before, but I think after reviewing the committee's report, my mind is made up.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yeah, so here, can you scroll down to where it shows 12th and 11th grade, just for clarity? It doesn't have to show all of it, just some 11th and some 12th. Oh.
So it was their,
Doesn't show the
this
end.
is our 12th grade students, and the 11th grade is at the end of their 11th grade.
Right. Yeah, so we don't have the end of the 12th grade, just, so at the end of the 12th grade, not all of them pan out in the wash. I think one of them might be different. But historically, my view on GPA was it's a 1 through 4 system. You take harder classes, you're supposed to still make an A or try to make an A. You get a 4 for an A, you get a 1 for a D, 0 for F. Then there came along the 5-point scale, and with this, all schools are doing some kind of advanced placement, weighting, GPA. I considered how it's being done. I just don't really understand why we're weighting kids at the end of their 9th, 10th, 11th grades lower than what they would be if we just took the average, including a 5-point scale where they get an extra point for a course. The 8, 16, 32 calculation to me makes a lot of sense mathematically for the students, and it eliminates the manipulation of GPA by getting rid of a middle school course that counted for high school, because it's still just adding something to it. It's not taking the average of GPAs. Kids can still manipulate GPA, because if they made lower than an A, then they could always drop that course still from middle school. But yeah, I still lean towards being for the column E calculation. So that's just my 2 cents.
Ms. Franklin, did you have any further comments? Ms. Bond? Ms. Parton? You want to put your mic on?
I'm sorry. I hear both of you guys. I possibly could agree to something of that nature, but for me, it would have to be, instead of dividing, it would have to be like the .04. It would have to be like instead of a breakdown, through division, I would be more for a standard number than a constant breakdown by year.
So our current one is a standard number. It's adding, it adds 1/32 to. It would be reflective of the number of courses that a standard student should have taken up until that point in high school. So if a student came into high school with 0 high school credits, at the end of their freshman year, they have 8 credits, typically. At the end of their sophomore year, they have 16. So it makes it reflective of how many credits they took. So they're currently adding a standard number, and that number is 1 divided by 32, because if you have a 4-point scale, you get a bonus point for the AP class. Over the full educational time frame of high school, the standard would be 32 classes, right? 8 per year. So you take 1/32 for each of those courses because you're adding 1 to the GPA of the student for that single class. And that 1/32 is the weight that would come out at the end if they were taking those classes. The manipulations that people were talking about is that denominator can be higher because you could have algebra and geometry and other courses from middle school that create a higher denominator. And if you have the 5-point scale and you're just dividing by the whole denominator, then it would effectively lower your GPA because you have more courses in there. But yeah, currently we do add a standard number that is constant across the entire time of their education.
Can I ask a question of the administration? Because you did the research. I know that there are divisions that do just add, instead of dividing by the year, just give the bonus per course. And so that's the equivalent of this. Is that the more standard approach to that?
Yes. There are some places, yes, that do, like, if you do an APDE course, and you get an A, you get a 5 instead of a 4.
Right, but so if if they're taking 4 courses and one's an AP course, they're getting the bump, which is so that. So there are different ways of calculating. What would be the easiest way for the administration to calculate that increase? Would it be per course, AP course, so they get a bonus per course? Or would it be easier for the administration to do the 4 steps, the 8, 16, 24, and 32? What's the easiest way for you to do that in PowerSchool? Because they both achieve the same end. The one is more micro level, it's per course, the other is by year. But it's still the same, it's gonna come out to be the same because it's based on actual AP courses.
That doesn't come out to be the same. Not if you have middle school courses, because that increases the denominator.
The bonus, like instead of with the division.
Right.
So it's just a calculation within our PowerSchool. So I think as long as it's a calculation, that's a real math calculation, we can do it. I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
Any other questions? I've thought a lot about this. I've gotten emails from parents and constituents, and I've tried to do a little research and really think about, what does this all mean? What is a grade? Why do we grade on the A to F scale? That's for administrative efficiency. That's it. That's why we've moved to the standards-based grading in elementary school, because it's not, an A to F is not a super great measurement of what you learned. It's what we have. We need it for different schools to be able to kind of talk to each other, share information. But it's it's kind of arbitrary. That has been used for hundreds of years, and we continue to still use it. What's the point of high school? Is the point of high school getting a high GPA so that you can get into college? Or is it having all kinds of experiences so that you're prepared for a world that we can't predict, the way that you need to be flexible to adapt to it? Unless you're like super big science fiction fan and maybe you've seen all the all the stuff coming for a long time. Our kids go all over the place, and they're accepted at many wonderful universities. And the thing is that William and Mary only has 1,600 kids in their freshman class, and Stanford University only has 1,600 kids in their freshman class, and they're incredibly competitive, and every competitive kid across the country and the world are trying for the same couple of seats. And those admissions counselors have told us the weights aren't something that is the deciding factor for that. And what we were told about the cutoff for onsite for Virginia Tech is that 3.5 is the cutoff, but typically kids who get below a 3.7 don't get an offer. So they're captured in there. So if you're at a 3.4 something, maybe Virginia Tech's not the place for you coming straight out of high school. Maybe another university is a better fit. Maybe you go to community college for a couple years and save some money and figure out what you want to specialize in. So I don't think us making adjustments to these weights really makes a lot of sense. It was a very thoughtful and thorough process when it was done, and as I understand it, incredibly progressive. As I was reading and trying to figure out what other divisions do in Lower Merion, Pennsylvania, they recently revised their grading weight scales to something that is a little more like what we do, kind of relieving that little pressure valve of the GPA. But they don't calculate their weights similar to us, and it's one of the top 5 school divisions in Pennsylvania and one of the top 100 school divisions in the country. So I think we're on the right track for what we have, and those are just my thoughts and my process on dealing with this particular issue. So because we do have a motion and a second.
And Chair Purcell,
Yes.
if you don't mind, I know we all got these. As I was reading through it, because while people were talking, I was trying to look over it. It would appear on page 5 that we're kind of discussing what is being presented in this data. If people just want to look at it, I don't know if it will help clarify anything, or it just it looks like that's what the topic of discussion is at the moment.
Are folks still reading? Are we ready to take the vote?
Call for the vote.
Ms. Osborne, if you wouldn't mind perhaps rereading the motion as you understand it, and then call the roll.
Okay, yes, please. I have motion to look to change the policy of adopting the proposed change of weighted courses. Does that sound Does that sound like what we're doing?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It would be to use 8, 16, 24, and 32 rather than just the 32. But I think that that would be sufficient in the motion because you'd have to work out the language. But that would clarify what you weighted.
I think the easy thing is adopt the weighted GPA calculation of column E in the presentation as presented.
I'm fine with that friendly amendment. It's the same amendment. I mean, the same.
Okay. So I have Dr. Guidry made the motion and Dr. Roundtree seconded the motion.
Okay. Do you want to call the roll?
Ms. Bond? No. Ms. Franklin?
No.
Dr. Guidry?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
No, I think.
Ms. Purcell?
No.
Mr. Roberts?
No.
Dr. Roundtree?
Yes.
2 in favor, 5 opposed.
Motion fails. Thank you so much, Mr. Ratcliffe and Dr. Comer.
And my apologies for not having that in the follow-up presentation.
Okay, so this may not be obvious to the folks at home. We did amend the agenda when we opened the meeting before our closed session to push our school performance and support framework results to a future meeting, just in the interest of managing time. So now we will have our last presentation of our business meeting, which is the 2026-2027 recommended budget presentation. Dr. Lois Graham will present the fiscal year 26-27 superintendent's recommended budget, followed by Angie Bland and Trevor Bennett.
So tonight, we will present the superintendent's recommended operating budget. I would like to begin by sharing some background on how this budget was developed. As always, our budget must align with our mission, as it's our core mission is to empower every student to achieve success. In order to achieve this, we must focus on how we provide quality services to our students. To provide the best services, we must invest in retaining and recruiting staff. Actually, the lion's share of our budget, 88%, goes to salary and benefits. We not only rely on the work of our staff daily, we value their expertise and their input. With that in mind, we approached this year's budget development as a highly collaborative process. We began by soliciting written input from the schools and the departments. We then met individually with each principal and each department head to discuss needs and priorities. In December, as you will recall, the board also heard directly from staff, and board members engaged in discussions about their own priorities for the division. As you will see in the presentation tonight, areas of general consensus were incorporated into the first version of the budget. However, as is always the case, not all requests could be included. Even with careful prioritization, the needs before us exceed the funding that's currently available. In regards to funding, we used information from the state budget and received the state calculation tool in late December. One of the greatest challenges in the process of developing a budget is the number of moving parts. We receive federal, state, county, and local funding. But at this point in time, we don't have the exact numbers as to how much we will receive from any entity. So we're trying to develop a budget when we don't have exact numbers. We anticipate that we will be notified of changes from the state in the upcoming weeks, which will create the need for revisions as we move forward with budget discussions. Tonight, Angie Bland, Director of Finance, and Trevor Bennett, Assistant Director, will share a detailed overview with you. On January 20th, the board will continue this budget discussion. As I mentioned, I have a previous commitment and will not be here for that discussion. However, Mrs. Bland and Mr. Bennett will continue to work with the board to revise the budget per the board's direction. Before they share, I also want to commend them for their hard work throughout this whole budget process. They not only work tirelessly to help develop a budget each year, but they also work daily to ensure that the budget is implemented accurately, responsibly, and in full compliance with all applicable rules and regulations. We appreciate them, and I will turn it over to them.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, and congratulations to those recently elected. Thank you also, Dr. Graham, for your kind remarks. This evening, we will walk you through the superintendent's recommended operating budget. Tonight's presentation will highlight key accomplishments from the current fiscal year, review the financial indicators that influence our budget development, provide an overview of the governor's proposed budget, outline the administrative objectives for this budget before you, summarize proposed budget additions, and present an overview of the school operating budget and the school nutrition budget. We will conclude with important upcoming budget dates. Some accomplishments for fiscal year 2026 included several significant investments and operational improvements. Approved additional personnel were incorporated to support district operations and student services. Salary compression adjustments reduced the pay scale from more than 30 steps to 20, enabling more competitive starting rates and also allowing employees to reach the final step earlier in their careers. The district increased the minimum wage from $15 to $16 per hour, strengthening our competitiveness within the region. The implementation of the free student breakfast has resulted in an increase of 40% in student participation to date. We now have 3,150 students currently participating in the breakfast program daily. Additionally, with year-end 2025 funding, it allowed the district to allocate some additional revenues and move that into fiscal year 2026 to be placed into the self-funded health insurance reserve, which strengthened our long-term financial stability. To begin budget discussions, it's important to review the 4 primary revenue fund categories that support district operations. The first being federal funds, and those include title programs, Medicaid funding, and special education programs. State funds represent the district's primary source of funding. This funding is based on standards of quality positions. That is calculated using the state's SOQ calculation tool, which was most recently updated on December 17th. The Virginia Department of Education standards of quality are constitutionally mandated minimum requirements for public education. They establish the baseline levels of instructional programs, staffing, and resources that drive state funding. Local school divisions are required to meet or exceed those standards and to fund the local share necessary to support them. County funds are those provided in accordance with the Code of Virginia, and they are based on SOQ requirements as well, with a typical cost-sharing ratio of approximately 55% state and 45% local. Local funds include district reimbursements, refunds, rebates, and donations. The Virginia Department of Education uses several factors to calculate school division funding. 2 of the most significant are the Local Composite Index, known as the LCI, and the Standards of Quality that we refer to as SOQ on a regular basis here. The LCI index is updated every 2 years. The most recent update occurred in November of 2025 and will remain in effect through November of 2027. This index reflects the locality's ability to pay based on multiple county level financial indicators. The district's LCI did increase slightly, and that change is reflected in the updated SOQ calculation tool. As the LCI increases, the state expects a higher local contribution, which reduces the amount of state funding provided for required educational costs. LCI factors are based on a formula that include multiple values, one of which are real property values, the county's real property values, adjusted gross income for the county, and their taxable retail sales. And looking at our increase, it was very slight. However, it did not affect the per pupil allocation. Our per pupil allocation is currently $9,400 per student. That has remained, so that is calculated as part of our budget. However, the decrease that you'll see typically is in two other categories. Those fall primarily in compensation, and those are for those SOQ-funded positions, as well as at-risk categories, which is difficult because those are services, and that doesn't necessarily decrease depending on your LCI. SOQ funding is updated annually based on the average daily membership. The district reports student enrollment twice per year, and the final average is determined for the district on March 31st. The average represents the state's required funding for the fiscal year. For fiscal year 2027, the state reduced the district's ADM from 9,115.45 students to 8,898.25. Last year, the district contracted for an independent demographic study, which did not project a decline of this magnitude. As a result, the proposed budget that you see before you is presented on an ADM of 9,005. This will represent a loss of 110 students from the fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2027. While districts may use their own ADM projections for budgeting purposes, the final ADM calculated on March 31st will determine the final funding allocation. Based on the state's estimated decline in student ADM, the SOQ-funded positions decreased from 711.69 to 688.26, resulting in a loss of funding for approximately 23.5 positions. This reduction is significant. The district's current employee count is currently at 1,824, leaving the district responsible for the remaining positions. Although enrollment shows a decline, the need for student support services continues to increase. These services require both personnel and resources and represent a growing cost to the district. The SOQ model does not fully allocate for those increased needs. In 2023, the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission, known as JLARC, as directed by the Virginia Department of Education, released a comprehensive study confirming longstanding challenges faced by Virginia school divisions, particularly related to staffing adequacy and funding gaps. There is a link that was shared as part of this presentation, and that will contain a study and their finding. It's a very interesting read if you haven't already taken a look at that. A key finding from this study indicates that on average, Virginia school divisions receive 14% less than comparable divisions in other states. This equates to approximately $1,900 per student. Based on the district's current student population, this represents a potential funding gap of approximately $17 million. And now an overview of the governor's proposed budget. As noted earlier, the state reduced both student ADM and SOQ-funded positions for this district, as well as those across many school divisions here in Virginia. These reductions generated the majority of the savings that are reflected in the Virginia Department of Education's budget projections. It is important to note that this proposed budget was introduced by the outgoing governor. Changes are anticipated as new administration takes office, and the state calculation tool will likely be revised multiple times throughout this budget process. If the state funding increases during this process, then the county request for funding would be reduced accordingly. Some key highlights of the governor's proposed budget include a 2% employee increase, salary increase in fiscal years 27 and 28. State funding applies only to SOQ positions, however, so it would require the district to fund the remaining costs for all other employees. One-time bonuses of 2% in both fiscal years, again, funded only for SOQ positions. And one really exciting item is increased funding for school construction grant opportunities. Dr. Dunleavy, Director of Grants, and Dr. Brown, Director of Facilities, have jumped right on this. They've already begun discussions, and we do plan to apply for this funding. Millions of dollars are available statewide for construction and renovation projects, and we're very hopeful in securing some funding to address the ongoing capital needs for the district. I'll touch for a moment on the fiscal year 2027 budget objectives. First, the administration greatly appreciated the budget discussion that was held at the board's final meeting in December. The dialogue provided clear direction and allowed us to align this recommended budget with the board's priorities and expectations. This recommended budget provided this evening includes the following objectives. Salary enhancements to include both raises and salary adjustments. The administration proposes no increase to employee health insurance premiums. The addition of health insurance coverage offered to bus drivers. Increased funding for existing operational and instructional needs. Expanded student mental health support services to enhance the district's capacity to provide comprehensive support and to allow students and families to leverage additional district resources. Continued funding to maintain state compliance for district programs. And one of the items also mentioned in December's board meeting were playground equipment and athletic facilities conditions. There were some concerns that were raised with that, and the facility study is nearing completion. And these items will be addressed through those findings. Given the scope of potential needs, the administration exploring the possible use of also using some of the Christiansburg High School bond interest revenue to support some of those improvements. Any requests for that funding would be brought to the board for consideration at future meetings. At this time, I will turn over the remainder of the presentation to Mr. Bennett, who will provide additional detail.
Thank you, Angie. So I'll start off with the budget additions, give you a quick overview of what's in the recommended budget. So the recommended budget includes several salary enhancements that will help improve the division's recruitment and retention efforts, and state funding provided for SOQ positions in addition to the local match will be utilized to cover a portion of these associated costs. So first off, pay scale adjustments and step increases are proposed for support staff to help raise the starting pay rates to help the district remain competitive to the surrounding school districts, as well as make the steps more consistent across all pay scales. Next, step increases and a 2% raise are proposed for employees on our teacher pay scales, and the majority of these employees are teachers, school counselors, librarians, and athletic directors. Also, rate increases for substitutes are also included. To remain consistent, the rate for substitutes will match the starting rate for their respective salaried position. Paraprofessionals, for example, would see a daily rate increase from $120 to $140 per day, which would be in line with the substitute teachers without a degree. And lastly, the pay scale adjustments would also increase our minimum hourly rate from $16 to $17 per hour. Also included is a health insurance increase of 3% as proposed, which is just the employer cost only. This would help support our self-funded health reserve and also allow the district to continue providing quality health and dental insurance options at no additional cost to employees while also addressing the needs of this health reserve. And health insurance increase, health insurance will be offered for bus drivers, which most districts in the area offer this for employees. And this would allow MCPS to provide consistent and competitive benefit packages for these employees. And then we also have two new programs included in the recommended budget. The first would be the Alternative Education Program, which includes $200,000 for staffing only, since one-time expenditures would be covered in the current budget as was approved tonight. The other is developing a funding program for AP exams. $80,000 is included in the recommended budget to begin a program to fund a portion of the AP exams, as the administration is exploring other potential funding opportunities. And lastly is the need for additional personnel, which I'll discuss on the next slide. Okay. First, we are including 2 ESL teachers and 1 library media specialist to better meet our state SOQ requirements. 1 CTE marketing teacher is included to ensure equity among our school strands where marketing is not currently available for students. And then an additional school counselor and 2 behavioral specialists to increase our mental health services and support. 2 speech therapists and 1 interpreter to reduce our contracted services, which are very costly, which could ultimately be a significant savings in the budget. 1 bilingual liaison family engagement coordinator is included to assist with our increasingly diverse student population. 1 EMT teacher, which has been discussed in the past. This is an opportunity to offer this instruction to students that hasn't been offered in the past. And a part-time testing coordinator assistant is also needed to support our school operations. And lastly, we propose increasing our paraprofessional work days. This will help provide additional time to ensure proper training for these positions. All right. Next few slides will highlight several salary comparisons for various employee groups. The chart on the left displays the current starting salary rates and hourly rates. And to the right of the graph, you'll see the starting salary in the current budget and also the recommended starting salary for next year's budget. In instances where discrepancies occurred in position titles, the closest comparison was selected, and the rates listed for Montgomery County are according to their 24-25 compensation plan. As you can see on the first slide, the current starting salary for custodians is relatively consistent with the surrounding areas. The recommended salary for FY27 would bring the starting hourly rate from $16 per hour to $17 per hour, which equates to $35,360. The next slide demonstrates the comparison for 12-month administrative assistants. The recommended budget would raise the starting salary from $33,280 to $39,520. This chart represents our bookkeepers. The starting salary for MCPS is currently the same as 12-month admin assistants. So to remain consistent, the recommended salary for this position is also $39,520. For paraprofessionals, the recommendation is to bring the starting hourly rate up from $17.81 to $19 per hour. And you can see the large discrepancy there. There's also a large discrepancy for finance and human resource specialists among the surrounding areas. The recommended budget would raise the starting salary rate for these positions from $35,920 to $54,080. Next, I will discuss our technology technicians. Another large discrepancy exists among the surrounding areas. The proposed increase would raise the starting salary from $39,279 to $47,840. And lastly, our technology analysts. The starting salary is currently $54,160, and the recommended budget would increase the salary to $61,360. And this next slide lists other items that have been discussed by the board in prior meetings that are not included in the recommended budget, which the board may consider for next year or in future years as the budget allows. The first is the Behind the Wheel Driver's Education Program. This is a preliminary cost estimate, as the administration is still waiting on state input as far as total costs and potential revenue. The next few items are listed. They include general cost estimates at the higher end, which the board may consider, and we can certainly provide additional information if needed on those. The first would be a dual language immersion program. offering free student lunch to students, and increasing the minimum hourly rate to even higher to $18 to $20 per hour. All right. And this next slide provides a summary of the recommended additions in the school operating fund. This table was uploaded separately to the presentation, so we can bring that up at the end for the board to take a look at. A couple things to note. One is an increase in the transfer to the school nutrition fund in the amount of $45,905. This is due to the higher participation in providing free breakfast and the costs associated with offering this for students. Another thing to note is the budget reductions listed for fuels and bus purchases. The reduction in fuels is due to the implementation of the fuel tanks project, and although fuel savings associated with this project have not been realized yet, we are anticipating a savings around $1 per gallon, which equates to about $250,000 per year. The budget reduction also includes bus purchases of $310,000. This was the amount for 2 buses that was included in the current budget. Historically, bus purchases have been funded through capital planning and/or year-end funds, so we plan on using capital funding for bus purchases next year. And this slide does also include a summary of our projected revenue. If the state numbers get adjusted in the coming months, then that would also impact the county funding request as well. Okay. This slide shows a summary of the school nutrition fund. The recommended budget includes maintaining current meal rates for students and staff. There is an increase included for professional services, which reflects higher participation rates among our students. So we are feeding more students, which is a great thing. And this cost is offset by additional revenue that is projected. We also have increased the equipment line item. This will address the need for replacing outdated equipment. And the school nutrition program does maintain a fund balance, which can also be utilized as they're a self-supporting fund for equipment purchases. And lastly, this slide shows important upcoming dates. A few dates to highlight would be the board will continue developing the budget throughout January, but on February 3rd, we are scheduled for the board to approve the proposed budget and forward that to the county administration. On February 23rd, we will present the proposed budget to the County Board of Supervisors. And then on March 16th, the school board will hold a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors. And then budget discussion will continue after that as we finalize the approved budget. And we'll hold a public hearing in May on the proposed budget, and final approval is scheduled for May 19th. And now we'll open up for discussion, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bland and Mr. Bennett. I know that it takes an incredible amount of time to pull all of this together, especially for our first meeting, which was something that our board asked you to do for last year. And it also, at a time of year when a lot of people are spending time with their families, you're getting the new calc tool and, trying to divine how all of this is going to work. So just thank you so much for doing that. So board members, if there are any questions, maybe, I think we've gone kind of in the same order, so maybe we want to mix it up a little bit. Ms. Franklin, did you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, so I appreciate the work, and quite frankly, for me, you all doing all this hard work over the holidays when you don't really have a lot of the information, it's like, I can wait, okay? So the format for me, I would like to see the budget in line items so that we can see exactly what nurses, all of our technicians, everyone else, how many we have, what that cost is, so that I can analyze the whole budget. And I know that sounds like, but that's a lot for us to analyze, but that's our job. So to be able to see that information is really very helpful to me. But I appreciate all the work that is going to change next week. And I could have waited till 2 weeks from now to get that information and been more accurate and saved you all some time during the holidays. But I appreciate all the hard work.
Dr. Roundtree?
Sure, I just had a brief question about the student lunch at no cost to the students, traditional model, 1.1 million. As I recall from last year, that was closer to 800,000. Is the 1.1 million due to the increase in participation in breakfast, and you're projecting the similar increase in participation?
That's correct. We have seen an increase this year, and then we're projecting the contract that we hold with Sodexo does require a minimum of 5% each year. So we calculate that in for next year, but we have seen an increase this year as well.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. It's good to see that those programs are being utilized well. Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Roberts?
Well, I have to commend you guys on putting this together. It's very easy to follow, very easy to understand. Clearly, you guys did a ton of work, and I really appreciate it. And I'm going to ask you to do some more, because I agree with Ms. Franklin. If we could get this broken down a little bit farther. I know my eyes are barely contained in my skull, but I think I can piece through it if you guys can get that together for us. If you said you needed more time, I would be happy to ask for that.
We do have a detailed breakdown of each of those items. Because of all the moving parts, we didn't put everything into it automatically because we know that's going to change, multiple times. But we have that pretty close, and I'll look at Trevor because he does the lion's share of that. But I think that's something that we could definitely share with Dr. Graham, and she could get that to you.
Good, and I don't feel bad asking.
It's nothing new, nothing new.
Dr. Guthrie?
Yeah, I just want to echo my appreciation for all the work that you did on this in such a short period of time. I do have two questions. The first is, and I think you may be prepared for it, about the local composite index. So I understand that there's a formula that's used and that we're assigned number 0.4054. What is the scale? How far does that go up? Is it stop at 1, and so we're a little under?
Correct. It goes from 0 to 1.
Okay.
So you see very few districts that are at 0.5 or above.
Yeah.
The majority fall into that. And I'd be happy to share with you the listing of all school divisions in Virginia, just so you can see a comparison of that. We actually have stayed in that mark. We actually dropped slightly several years ago. But this increase is just ever so slight. So it does really not change our projection very much at all. When you look at surrounding, if you know of any struggling school districts and you look at this list, it will be very evident based upon their percentage of their ability to pay. You'll be able to recognize that.
Are you able to connect this number to the capacity of the county to support the schools?
Yes, so the LCI is directly associated with that. So basically, in compiling this number, they take a look at the growth of Montgomery County. Mm-hmm. And so because that increased, even though it was ever so slightly, it means that Montgomery County received additional revenues, whether that was in, real estate, tax, retail sales, things of that nature. So that puts more of a burden on Montgomery County to fund as opposed to the state in doing that.
So if you look at that index, that LCI, to the funding that we're receiving from the county, is it comparable? Are we receiving more from the county than would be estimated from the composite? Less? Because we need some framework for understanding the requests that go to the Board of Supervisors, because it's you know.
So traditionally, and we can share a history of the revenues and where the approved amounts have landed in comparison with the LCI. The funding has been pretty level over several years. We haven't seen it decrease. One of the things mentioned is under the SOQ model, it's traditionally that 55-45, state being 55 and localities being 45%. The county has always met that minimum funding, but then there's funding above that they can do. So we can certainly share that with you, and that's helpful in doing that. It's been pretty level in the last few years. Our state funding, however, if you look over the last 2 to 3 years, it was around 5.4, 5.6 million, and the funding this year is at 3.4. You'll see 3.6 on the slide because there's an additional $200,000 in a grant that would be included as part of that. But that's a significant drop, and that's all based on our ADM. And then that loss of compensation supplement for those positions. 23 and a half positions equates to about 1.6 million, and the loss of over 200 students is over 2 million. Now, we did reduce that to 110, but that's still a loss, from one year to the next of over $1 million. So we're looking at between $2.5 to $3 million less than what we would traditionally see from state funding.
And that takes into account what the governor-elect has said about public education and what she wants to see funded.
Right. I feel like, governor. Yes, everything that we see today is, from the outgoing governor.
I see.
Right. So nothing has been done. So I believe December 17th is when they transition from, in that office. So we more than likely will not see anything until the 1st of February. We will already be trying to make that decision. You'll be voting on a budget early in February, and that may be the first time or days after that we will see any changes truly from the budget. We do expect that there will be changes. We certainly had them last year, but with a change in administration, I think we'll see more of that.
Fingers crossed. The second question is about the salary adjustments, because we had asked, and I think it was the will of the board, to at the very least compare the salaries that MCPS is paying versus the county. And what we have here is really instructive and illuminating. So like human resources finance specialist, that's like almost $20,000. But what stood out to me in the graph was not so much the starting salary, but the range and how much higher. And one of the things that I've seen in other institutions, what happens is what they do is they raise the starting salary, and we're doing it pretty significantly here. And there are employees, MCPS employees, who've been here 15, 20, 30 years. And they're like, you're telling me that somebody starting next year is going to make the same salary as me, and I've been here for 30 years? Yep. So that was why I knew this was going to take multiple years, but I know, but if you could just, so for me, what would be helpful is to understand how we're addressing the range, not just the starting point.
Sure. The salary adjustments flow through the entire scale for each employee group. So it's not just the starting pay, it will flow through the entire scale. And we can certainly get you more information on
okay, that would be wonderful to see, because that was where I saw big differences. People who, long-term employees, the higher end of that scale, where it was like, sometimes twice as much.
Yeah, we're also aiming to make the pay steps more consistent. They're all over the place currently. Sometimes a step is only 2%, 1%, 3%. So we're trying to equalize that to 3% between steps, so then employees know what to expect when they move a step.
How long do you think it will take for us to get to parity with the county for our salaries?
We're focusing on support staffs this year. Teachers have been focused on in the past. It may be something we consider for next year. It's a multi-year process, but this year we're aiming to focus on support staff first.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ms. Parton?
Thank you guys for all the hard work. I'm sorry you had to work over Christmas. I would have waited too. But thank you for all that you've done and for giving us a starting point, even though for me, it's extremely difficult when we really don't know what we're getting, but at least I know what we're looking at and trying to figure out, you know, where we're starting and then with what we've got, what we need to do. So thank you. That was a lot of work. For the 2% increase and the one-time bonus, did I see that right? Are both of those implemented by the state?
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm a little confused why we'd be giving a raise and a bonus.
That is a directive from the governor.
Because usually it's one or the other. So,
Right. I believe in the last couple of years, we've seen the bonus, and it's an attempt, based on some of the reductions and other things, more of a morale booster overall for the state. But we have seen those bonuses the last couple of years. We had one at the end of this last fiscal year as well.
Right.
Now, this one is an interesting one because it's a 2% on an employee's salary. If you remember the last bonus that we had, it
Yes.
was $1,000 to every employee. So
Right.
every employee received the
this
same amount.
is-
2% for one employee is not the same as 2% for another employee. There are some caveats in the instructions in doing that, so it might be something, you know, as we get closer, and if that continues to be a part of the budget process, and it's not removed or changed, then we could definitely take a look at something to where it could be possibly more even across the board, or, you know, look at other board considerations, so that that you feel good about the
I was a little
the
surprised,
process.
I have to admit. I was a little surprised because usually, and the fact that it's only the SOQ, which I get for that end, I get why they do that. But that means we're having to cover everybody else, and that can get quite expensive for us. So I have a concern with that.
So just as an example, the $1,000 bonus, it was almost $1 million that
Yeah,
we
that's what I
had to
thought. Yeah.
to
And that was only for
supplement.
1,000 across the board. That's what I thought. So I have a big concern about that. And the other thing I think I wanted to ask was to touch on something Dr. Guitry said about the starting pay and then the people who have been here. I was just, Ms. Bond and I just kind of had a little discussion to the side that that's everywhere. Not to make light of it, but it's everywhere. Because now, I mean, when I've even seen people coming into a job close to what I've been making, and I was somewhere for 15 years. I get it. It's, but we can't do that and do both because we're not going to be able to afford it. But what we have done is there was a step increase made to where we could reach that sooner. So to me, that's an increase for those people because they're getting not only money increase, and it's going to be well over $1 million is what it's going to cost us. I've already done the math. And they're going to hit the highest pay sooner and be able to, so it's going to be more money in their pocket, even though technically it's not a raise, but it will be a raise. So that needs to be remembered as well. So I think those two items were the only thing I had right now because we didn't have any more numbers to look at. I am more about getting more money from the state than I am the Board of Supervisors, I'm going to be honest. Not to say that I don't feel like we should get what we feel like we deserve, but I think we should be good stewards as always, try not to waste. And the Board of Supervisors has been good to us and always done good by us from my perspective. So anything we can get to save our county and our taxpayers less money, I'm all about it. I'll go lobby in Richmond. I don't have a problem with it. I do it all the time. So I think the state should be bellying up for a lot more than what they're doing. So I think we should really concentrate on putting more of a focus on getting more money from the state from this point forward. Thank you.
Ms. Bond? Just piggying back on what everybody kind of said, of course, thank you guys. I can't imagine even doing your job, much less how you have to do it. So thank you, and I appreciate it, and wouldn't want to do it. But what everybody says is so true, but for me, this is going to be about some of the scales that are really, really low, because I truly believe when we talk about a village raising a child, a school system, it's not just one, it's not just the teachers, it's not just the administrators, it's the people that get the kids to school, it's the people that feed the kids, it's the people behind the scenes that's making the budgets, it's the people that's getting the grants, it's the people it's all of you guys. And we should, so for me, we need to take the bare necessities and get our employees to being paid what they need to be paid, not just our teachers and administrators. I appreciate them 100%, but someone making $16 and $17 an hour, I don't know how anybody lives on that. And the people that, yes, I understand, I mean, someone been doing something for 30 and 40 years and people coming, but 20 years ago, a starter home wasn't $250,000. It is now. And there's no way that we can look at things like that. I'm sure our parents and grandparents said the same thing. And you cannot not start people at decent salaries because someone at 20 or 30 years has not moved. That's just economy. It's just kind of how it works. And I hate it, but it is what it is. But for me, this budget's going to be about getting those people some better money. And, the ones that are already making pretty good, I appreciate everything they do. But we need to get the ones that support that up to what it needs to be. So that's kind of where I am. Thanks.
Any other further comments from the board?
So I'd just like to follow up on a couple of things that were mentioned by board members. When we talk about those bonuses, it's surely nice to say it's show appreciation. But if you're going to show people appreciation, you roll that over into their salaries so that it is calculated every year. So when they're getting that 2%, 3% raise, 4%, yay, if we can do a 5%, then it's going to compound and it's going to truly make an impact on their life versus, I'm not saying I won't take $1,000 if somebody gives it to me, but I would much rather have that in my salary every month or every couple of weeks. And I agree with your comments about the starting pay. I've heard that for years and years, especially in my union world, when we're fighting to get folks better pay. And when I started working, I was making $6.99, and now we have somebody coming in making $18. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be because the cost of living was not the same, just like you were saying. So I'm not too sympathetic on those comments because the world is different and it costs a whole lot more when you're first starting out than it did years ago. And the compression of those pay scales also, as you stated, gives people that top pay years sooner than they would get it. And I have more to say, but I'll wait till we get true information so that we'll have a better discussion. So thank you all again.
So I do kind of have a housekeeping question then, kind of based on timelines and things that have been outside of your control. We do have planned for our January 20th meeting, can further budget discussions. Are there still too many moving parts for that to be a useful discussion on that date? I mean, and then we're planned to vote on it on the 3rd. Or, does it make sense to make some adjustments? Because the budget is to be forwarded to the county on the 6th, but the presentation isn't until the 23rd. So is there potentially wiggle room to make sure that we're dealing with good, accurate information for us to make decisions and give them enough time to digest things before your presentation on the 23rd.
So the 20th, we may have information. The new governor will go into office on the 17th. I'm sure budget will be a priority, but all of us starting new positions from, at any point now when you walk into that office, there's a lot to take care of. But budget, of course, is going to be the primary focus. We could have brief updates by the 20th. I think that's highly unlikely. I know that there is a special session, if needed, on the 27th. We would hopefully know closer to the 20th, what it's looking like, if we're going to see updates closer to that time, if you want to, at that point, try and make a decision about adding that special meeting. Or you could propose another meeting date as well on that. The county is looking for the information on the 6th so that they can do some work before the 23rd, but we could certainly reach out and see if there's any wiggle room as well, in those dates for you. And unfortunately, even after the 6th and even after the 23rd, there could be changes, and the county's well aware of that as well. They know that funding does move as the state progresses through their budget process.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So for me, if we got a further breakdown of the information that, we've been talking about, to have a better discussion about what we're actually looking at, because I would really like to see, I'm glad to hear that there's an estimate that we're going to save a couple $100,000 on fuel, but I want to see numbers. I want to know with these buses, how much they're actually going to cost us if we don't have savings at the end of the year that we can roll over to buy some buses. How many nurses? I've been saying our diversity and equity department needs more support. That is an equity issue, it's a mental health issue. So when we're talking about mental health, how's that being distributed as far as positions? So a breakdown on who's doing what and how many and how much they get paid would help me to have a deeper discussion about our budget on the 20th.
Yeah, we can get that information to you hopefully next week.
Of our business meeting. And that is unfinished business. And are there any items of unfinished business? Ms. Franklin?
Okay, so the VSBA Legislative Conference is at the end of the month. I have already signed up for that. And during that time is when we should be lobbying our legislators. And I don't recall that we actually approved a list of priorities. Did we do that?
I think we did settle on a list.
Okay. Okay, so we need to get that list and have it ready for those of us who are going. But one of the other things that's the crucial piece of this is to have our clerk reach out to these legislators and try to make appointments for that day to be able to meet with them. Sometimes it's you're running into them in the hallways or the elevators, or you're just talking with their administrative assistants, but you're there in person, helping them understand this is what's important to Montgomery County. Thank you.
Any other items of unfinished business? Okay. Are there any items of new business? Are there any announcements?
Just a reminder, the students, as we're coming back from the break, keep vapes out of schools, behave. We don't want you coming to student hearings if at all possible.
Like to, oh, so I'm sorry.
Please.
I would like to give a welcome to our new board member. I hope your 4 years will be rewarding. Yes, and welcome to the flock.
Okay. And with no other announcements, our next board meeting is January 20th, and there are other future board meetings listed on our website. And I adjourn this meeting at 10:37 p.m.